Schiphol traffic, KLM 1149er, taxiing via Bravo, Charlie, Whiskey 5, Victor, and taxiing to runway 36 left.
Right, you're back. Breeze back. See, there we go. There is an official, very, very official validation and appraisal of Streamlabs being utter shit. There we go. So, if anybody's watching, don't get Streamlabs because it is a load of bollocks. Or maybe it's my PC. Maybe my PC is bollocks is one of them. So, there we go. Don't get Streamlabs. I don't know what's going on. But what's even worse is when I open up the task manager, I have Streamlabs. Is it there now? Oh, there's loads of service hosts. So in Streamlabs, I don't know why it's done this. It's got 17 in brackets. I don't know what that means. But when it stopped working, OBS is much better. I'm going to go back to it, really. I think I do have OBS. I'm going to go back to that because, yeah, Streamlabs just doesn't seem to be very good at all. Yeah, when it stops working and then I try and close it down in the task manager, there's about 15 Streamlabs open. I don't understand. It's like, you know, I've only opened that application once. Like, why does there need to be about 17 of them open? I don't get that. Anyway, let's persevere. Let's keep on going. We didn't see much in the first one anyway. Coming back to this question, yes, as Zero Fuel Wait Willie, you said. So I don't remember exactly how it's done, to be honest. This is sort of a bit outside my remit of knowledge. Our estimated payload, I think, to be fair, this is pretty accurate because obviously in our ERES system, the airline's ERES system, it knows how many males, females and kids and stuff are booked onto the flight, so it can work out an accurate payload based on the breakdown of whether it's males, females, kids, and it usually works out on kind of how many bags people have paid to check in as well, so it kind of knows roughly how many bags. So it knows roughly what the accurate payload is going to be, but of course when you actually get to the aircraft and you get your final figures, you sometimes have people that don't show up. They might be, you know, online check-ins that they haven't shown up, and there may be a couple more men, a couple more female than what's originally booked or whatever. So the payloads invariably differs somewhat by this, because the actual breakdown of males and females and kids sometimes varies. So I think he uses Streamlabs, Bastion, I think. I don't know. So anyway, that then just affects the zero fuel weight. So it'd be just nice to have a slightly different zero fuel weight come through to, I suppose, resend load sheet. There you go, the final one, because I want to go. So yeah, it would give us ever so slightly more accurate zero fuel weight. I mean, is it modelled that way? Probably not. I don't know why I'm looking at this really, because the first load sheet was right, so I'm just talking complete garbage. There we go, let's go. Right, there was somebody behind me, so I had to wait for him anyway. Oh, he's gone, perfect. So, let's get that. Yes. No. 17 processes, yeah, that means nothing. Blame the PC. It is probably the PC. Streamlabs uses the exact same software as OBS, just with a lick of paint.
Hello, Captain. We are ready for pushback.
I don't know. Do you vary zero fuel weight based on? Yeah, I've just answered that, I think. So you know, you're not listening, mate. Open your ears, mate. Yeah, it's like I said, the actual payload in the flight plan is pretty accurate based on the breakdown of males and
departure checks completed.
Females.
Bypass pin inserted.
Yeah, let's get you on, because the ERES system's that good. Right, let's have a quick word of. There's my microphone. There it is. Who am I? Monarch. That's it. Amsterdam traffic. Monarch 8-3 Foxtrot. We're pushing back from stand 52 to face east. All checks.
Locking gear.
4 stars parking brake is set. Takeoff data is confirmed. Windows, they are closed. PD, don't care. Doors are closed and armed. And the beacon is on. 4 star checks complete. That's why we do the points. Yeah, Yeah, I don't know.
Release parking brakes, please.
I don't know. I blame
All engines clear.
Streamlabs. I don't know if it's Streamlabs. It's probably my PC. I don't know. I just don't think my PC is good enough to handle kind of what I'm doing. It's good enough to, you know, to obviously run the sim and do things, but good enough to stream without things crashing left, right, and centre. Probably not. Anyway, let's start the engines and select. That's. There we go. Did more like start number 2? I can't remember. I'm going to do single engine because it's such a long taxi. Let's just start number 1. Once max speed, you can open the windows at 220 knots dark, if my limitations serves me correctly. Is it gone again? Where's it going? Oh, don't say never mind. Or not again, Dan. It makes me think that the stream's crashed.
Please set parking brakes. Waiting your confirmation for a good engine start.
Was it stopped? I know there's a bit of a lag. Right, that's fine. Everything fine? Yeah. Dan, shut up. Honestly. Making me paranoid. Right, all good. That can go back to normal. Single engine, so that can go off and that can go on. Do me PM bits, which I was going to pull. I'm going to pull the spoiler thing then out of habit. That one, that one, that one. It's 30% something there. It's in the green band, which is the important thing. There we go. That's done. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Cockpit to ground. We have a good engine start. You can disconnect.
Why? There's obviously a reason why you're parked at a slight angle here. Maybe I don't spar just now. Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. Maybe panic. Yeah, shut up. Troubleshoot the problem first before you panic. You're making me paranoid. Sorry. So yeah, it's obviously disconcerting to say negative, but obviously the airfield is effectively below sea level.
Unlocking gear.
Have you got any Flightsim yet? Oh, that was a bit of a bump. Don't break my aircraft. That one. No, still no ATC, never mind. It's fine.
Tow track disconnected. Bypass pin removed. Left is clear, right is clear.
Oh, boys, behave. I don't know. Just settle down. I don't know what you took. Do not clear. No, let's just crack on, shall we? Let's just move on. Let's just get past that bit. Right, tug's disappeared. Lady that's having a schmuck and a pancake.
Traffic KLM 1147, 1149er, crossing runway 36 center.
26 center? Was that Amsterdam? What do you say? 36 center? Maybe it said 36 center. I thought it said 26 center. Anyway, she's disappeared. Well, she will be disappearing. Amsterdam traffic, Monarch A320 Foxtrot. We're taxiing to 36 left via Bravo. Then probably Charlie, cross at Whiskey 5 at 36 center, and then Victor to Victor 3. Which nobody will listen to or pay any attention to either. Right, clear on the right and the left. That's done. That's done. Let's give you a bit of thrust.
Amsterdam traffic off runway 36 center.
I swear he's saying 26. Yeah, these screens are still laggy. I don't think it's the scenery. Again, I'm doing this in me socks, so brakes are checked. Don't get any ideas. 319s are pretty. Yeah, they are. We should perform more 319. Oh, good question. What do I prefer? I don't know, Paul. Really, I mean, the 321 lands like a twat. You know, because that's a funny flare law thing. The 321 CEOs, they were beauties. They were lovely. They were. Give me them back. I like the 321 CEO. That was great aircraft. 319. Yeah, 319 is not too bad. It's like a little sports car, I suppose. You can do plenty with it. Right, we'll clear on the right. We'll clear on the left. Flat 3 landings are a lot easier because it's not really a tail strike issue. 320s. 360 last. Yeah, that's what I assumed. It's just I'm hearing things. I like the 320 Neos, to be fair, because they're pretty good for the fuel. They're a bit heavier, so you can get more fuel on. So if you're doing a really long flight and you're a bit limited on the fuel with like a 320 CEO, you can do a lot more with the 320 Neo. So that sort of gets you out of a little bit of a what's the word? Gets you out of a bit of a hole, I suppose. So they're quite useful. Right, I've done all that. That's all done. So let's just start the engine. There's no rush on that one. Use me rudder. Dark, it was you, wasn't it, saying about the rudder? Was it rudder on takeoff or landing? I can't quite remember, but I'll have a feel. I don't remember having any issues with the rudder. Yeah, apart from that, but I won't go into that. Yeah, I know some people have said it's been a bit squirrely and people are going all over the place. I haven't found that with my aircraft yet. The rudder control seems to be pretty good. Gets you out of a jam. That's it, really. Yeah, it does. It's a little bit better to get you out of the jam because it just can carry just that little bit more. I think it's got bigger max zero fuel weights. Takeoff weight is more as well. I'm trying to remember what they were, the Neos.
Amsterdam traffic, KLM
Max takeoff
1147
weight
lining up
is
on runway 36 left.
Yeah, I think max takeoff weight on the 320 COs is somewhere between 73.5 and 75.5 tons. These things are modelled at 73.5 tons, I think. The Neos, they can go up to what did I say? 73. They can go up to I think 77 tons, and I think the ones we've got are 76.4. 70. I can't remember, but they can take off at higher weights, which is good. There we go. So rudder has too much or no control when. Okay, fair enough. Okay, well,
traffic KLM 1147 taking off on the runway 36 left via the Spiker bore for Victor departure.
So, I mean, I'm using my rudder now to control the taxiing, which is sort of slowly working as it would. So full left and full right. This doesn't really help that I've got an engine running. So I'm just sort of counteracting the engine thrust with a bit of left rudder to keep me straight, which is what I do normally. Don't really need to use the tiller on the straight. You can just keep a bit of rudder in. You could even, see if I can do it, use a bit of rudder trim. So I can, relax. Ooh. Probably get an ECAM now, so the rudder trim's going to go out of limits. Yeah, almost not there yet. You can, I don't know, can you hear it? There we go. So I've used the rudder trim, yeah, to try and keep me straight. So 70, yeah, it's quite a lot of units that. I wouldn't know. Well, I mean, you can use the rudder trim. There is a procedure, like if you think the aircraft's, if you're two engine, if you think the aircraft is veering from one side or the other, you can use the rudder trim to see how much offset the nose wheel is, and then there's certain limits for that as well. I'm just going to reset that because that's going better, because I don't really want to be doing it. But yeah, there is a sort of procedure which you can use. What happened to the other stream? Yeah, don't ask. It's Streamlabs something or other. My PC, I don't know. So I'm full left rudder now just to keep myself straight. I suppose it's just because of the thrust that's on. Let's go idle. Right, what did I say? Next right. Next right at Charlie. might start the right engine on Charlie, just so we got plenty of time. So I think this is coming up.
After traffic, KLM 147, continue on departure. I have passing 4,000 feet.
Thanks for that, mate. I really wanted to know that. Right, this is Charlie. This looks like it's Charlie. Signs aren't particularly labelled in the sort of correct direction. What's that? Have I ever flown to, was LE? I can't see that because the heart's in the way, the bloody thing. Probably, whatever it is. If it's a Spanish one, yes, I probably have. Right, should we get the second one going? So the actual pump is on, bleed is on. Engine mode selector is start. Right, everyone, 3, 2, 1, blow. There we go. Right, that's the pressure. Good. Stop number 2. Am I going uphill? Did those lights just come on? I swear they did. Malaga. Have I ever been to Malaga? Oh, Jesus. Yeah. Lots and lots and lots. That hard. Yeah, I'm glad it's not just me. I thought it was like my settings if I could get rid of it, but I can't. A lovely U-block origin. Okay. I don't know how to do that. Right, there we go. 2 has started. Let's time it so I don't forget. That is back to normal. Doesn't need to be on the ignition. Bleed can come off. Don't need the anti-ice. APU's coming off. And when I have turned and probably crossed the runway, which I think is this one here, if memory serves me right. All clear this way. Whiskey 5, that sounds familiar. Get you on. Amsterdam traffic, Monarch Aircraft Foxtrot is crossing 36 centre at Whiskey 5. Right, let's not dawdle.
You're not readable. Increase your mic, please.
Roger. Monarch Aircraft Foxtrot radio check.
Still not readable.
It's probably you, mate. You're probably.
You are 5x5.
Yeah, you're too far away to hear me, mate. That's why you can't read me. Thank you, 5x5. So yeah.
It is better, thank you.
Yeah, dickhead, you're unreadable. That's because you're like bloody 80 miles away. That's why you can't hear me. Right, anyway, so that's fine. That's done down there. Right. Damn it, people don't understand how the radios work. Right, the after starts says anti-ice is off. ECAM status is jets. Pitch trim is in the green. That'll do. 30%. Rudder trim is back. Have I reset it? I have reset it. There we go. It's back to neutral. That's done. Right, let's do a quick flight controls. Fill up. Full down. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Right, the stupid bit. Full left rudder. Full right rudder. Neutral. Done. Oh, go on. On, thank you. That's on me. You're on. You're on.
Skipper traffic, Transavia 1041, pushing back gate.
Have I got to do something with this? Can't remember. I got to press something. I can't remember what happens with that. Got to wait. I come back to that. Don't get me started. Don't get me started now. Get away from the keyboard 5 minutes and he's gone. Most difficult approach do I do in real life? Yeah, I'll come back to that one. Many, I suppose. Right, the texture flight controls checked. Flap setting. We have config 1. FMA. Yeah, that's the right one. Climb now blue 152. Red unprotected wind shear is on. ECAMMO is take off no blues. Our logo is done now. And the EFBs are stowed and connected. Or disconnected, so we're disconnected on these ones. Right, so what is it the right way? Let's just make sure I'm going the right way round. I think it is. It's clockwise round, I think. Is it anti-clockwise? I'm going this way, sod it. There's no one here. I can't even find the chart that says what direction you've got to go in now. Where the hell is it? Don't know, I've completely lost the chart which has this little roundabout bit in. I think it's this way. I think you come up that way and you go down this way. I think. I'm not doing that one. Where's me departure? Bergie. That one, that's what I want. Oh, I think I need to get the window open. I'm getting hot. Not in the aircraft. Alright, we've got the 3 minutes for the 2 engines. This is Victor 3, should be. Well, windsock's a bit close. Yeah, I think that needs repositioning. Not quite sure that's there in real life. Might be able to avoid it. Straddle the right hand side. Right, I think I am done. Last minute paranoia check. That's all done. That's on. Let's get these on. Dun 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 dun. That. Right, I think we're ready. 18-minute taxi. Yeah, not too bad. Or push. Right, there we go. That's done. Amsterdam traffic. Monarch K3 Foxtrot is departed 36 left on the Bergie 5 Victor departure. That's done. I think that's done. Line up checklists. Cabin is secure for takeoff. Takeoff runway is 36 left, 5 Victor 3. Takeoff clearance is confirmed because I've said it. TCAS is TA, RA, and the packs 1 and 2 are off. Line up checks complete. What do you think about Pappy's ear? We can come back to that, go ahead, because yeah, I do have an opinion on that. I wouldn't say they're correct, they're incorrect though. Actually, the opposite. I think the glide slopes are usually incorrect. All we controls are slightly in the wrong place. It doesn't quite feel normal. Maybe good enough. Right, I've not really briefed anything. There's a bit of a lump. So hopefully there's not much of a lump on the actual runway. Right, should we go? Manflex 64 SRS. Hey, what's that? Yes, they are. Thank you. My control's a bit sensitive. Alright, thrust is set. 100 knots. Wind was from the right, if I remember. V1 rotates. So yeah, rudder there, absolutely fine. I was holding a little bit left rudder, which makes sense. Possibly climb gears up. So wind was from the right, so obviously I'm weathercocking into the right, so I was holding a little bit of left rudder just to maintain that centre line, and it was doing an absolute brilliant job. You know, just very, very, very light sort of pressure on that left rudder pedal, and you know, there was no problems at all. Yeah, see, these screens are still very laggy. Very, very laggy. I don't know if it's not quite so laggy. Interestingly, so not laggy when you expand the come on. Yeah, it don't seem as laggy on the expanded window. So this isn't laggy, but the actual screens here are very laggy still, which is interesting. Right, let's go that. Let's increase the workload, or decrease the workload. AP1. Let's go standard. Ooh, standard is cross-checked. Come on, thank you. So it's like 60 blue. There is, yeah, I know there is an option, John. I've done that. I've clicked that, but I'm still getting the problem. That's the problem. Change one option in a Fenix. Yeah. Right. SB is flap 0. Switch at flap 0. Oh yeah. Sorry. My fault. I forgot that. Yeah. Right. Disregard. It's because I'm chatting. Let's just go up to. Was it 36? Let's just go up to 300. See what? That's better. Thrust climb, open climb, flat level 300 blue. There's one of these old bad boys. 1013. There we go. Done. Seems smooth. Girls can go. Anyway, that's done. That's disarmed. That's up. Yeah, lights can go as well. It's a problem of talking at the same time trying to fly. Where was I? So, I only just NVIDIA. I'm not actually, Paul. No, that is one thing that I haven't done. So maybe I need to do that. Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe I need to update the NVIDIA driver. That is a very good point. I don't think I've done that recently. Company message, probably late. I don't care. We're always bloody late. Accu AOC, receive messages. Oh, it's another load sheet. Oh, how many load sheets do you want to give me? So yeah, you can see there's definitely stutter on the PFD, but there's nothing on the expanded window. So when I expand it, it's absolutely fine. I don't have the latest NVIDIA for this. For the latest drivers causing the problems, but yeah, I don't know. If PFDs aren't laggy when you expand, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I don't think I can't open my Fenix app at the minute because obviously I'm using it. But I have the, what do they call it? Screen sync. There's a tick box, isn't there? Screen sync. They've renamed a couple of things, but the screen sync tick box I've ticked because it sort of suggests it may be for slightly lower end PCs, which arguably mine maybe is a slightly lower end PC. You know, it still seems to do this okay, but you know, I thought I might help it out if I'd done that. I don't know about the other one is. Both stop stuttering. Both stop stuttering, do they? Yeah, okay. Can I? Oh. There you go, problem solved. I just can't move, I just got to stay in that view. There you go, just leave it like that and it'll be fine. What's my graphics card, Paul? It's, Gav, what is it? You know what it is. You gave me the PC. 1660 something or other, I think it is. Dark should know, he built it. God goes, I haven't. Oh, you poor thing. I'm assuming you're being, you know, taken there under gunpoint or something. This isn't through choice. You haven't to go to that place. That's pretty cool. No, haven't's lovely. I'm sure it is. What were you saying earlier? Go ahead. You asked me a question. I've forgotten what it was, and I said I'd come back to it. The Pappies. That was it. So yeah, other Pappies. I actually think the Pappies are probably more reliable than the glide slope. And I've said to Gav this a lot of times, because I mean, don't forget, 99% of probably all the landings you're going to do in this aircraft, or any aircraft really, I suppose, any airline or anything, is probably. Oh, it's a 1650, is it? No, yeah, that means nothing. Yeah, most of these lands are going to be visual. So you're looking out the runway, you're looking at the runway that's going to be in front of you. You're sort of looking at the aim point. And you're going, right, I want the jet to go there. So most of the time, the Pappies are more or less aligned with the aim point on the runway, which is in the touchdown zone. I don't know what the CPU is. Again, dark. There you go. Now, isn't it on there? I'm sure it's on here actually. Specs. I'm sure I've got this in. Yeah, so you want to be landing the aircraft sort of somewhere next to the Pappies or where the aim point is, which is obviously a visual manoeuvre. And I think the Pappies are more aligned with that aim point in the sim than what the glide slope indications are. So a lot of the time I find, even if you keep 2 reds, 2 whites on the landing, on the the sort of final approach, the glide slope will start going up a little bit. You often then start almost getting a little bit low below the glide slope. I don't know why. I don't know, the scenery or whatever. It's got the glide slope antenna or the beacon, transmitter a little bit further down the sort of touchdown zone than what you'd ideally want, which then doesn't really align the glide slope to the Pappies relatively close in. So it's a bit of a difficult one. I would just say rely on the Pappies in most cases, unless it's obvious. If the Pappies are at the threshold, which is probably not what they should be, then that's obviously a bit wrong. But in most cases, certainly during the day, you can kind of see roughly where the Pappies are aligned with the aim point. So it's quite easy to go, well, I'm going to aim there. And I'll sort of talk about it in Birmingham if I see it. And I don't know, I think the weather's a bit crap, but let's have a quick look, see what it currently says. Because it's not probably the best day to look at the... There we go, 4,800 metres, light rain broken at 600. So probably not the best day to be given a good example of this, but I will do my best. Where when I see the Pappies, I'll be effectively aiming towards them. Here's my... What hasn't started as well is that one. No. So we'll get this back up. Where do we come from? Eham. EGBB. And who are we? Monarch A320 Fox. Hopefully that will sort out the banner. If there's a banner, is the banner there? Hopefully this will start coming up again in a second. How soon can you turn on the autopilot after takeoff? It is something like minimum of 100 feet or 5 or 8 seconds after liftoff. One of those two values, I can't quite remember. I usually do it pretty quickly because I get bored quite quickly. Right, let's go 3-6. Manage climb flight with 360 blue. Yeah, I've never known that, Dan. That is quite worrying. As soon as flight directors give you commands that you don't really want to see, then you just turn them off, really, in my opinion. Let's turn that off. That's smooth enough. And it's maybe a little bit of cloud. Let's get the anti-ice on. Yeah, so Pappies, I'd rely on the Pappies most of the time. At night, obviously, you can't quite see where the Pappies are aligned with the runways, so a little bit of both. Yeah, that's basically it. Anybody else? So, no, I don't think we've got Gatwick grounds on. Loads of Germany airports. Or a few of them, yeah, certainly some German airports are online. Could have gone that way, never mind. Where did I saw somewhere today. Oh, East Mids, that's it. East Mids has got horrible weather. But I don't have the scenery really, so it's probably not the best place to go to with crap scenery. Yeah, it's really laggy. Really, really laggy. So, yeah, do people suggest maybe the NVIDIA update? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Next question, what conditions do flight directors commands and you should follow and when they should be turned off? Ryan. Yes, so flight directors are pretty much on for the majority of the flights. There are procedures, non-flight director takeoffs. I think there is a procedure for that. I think. I can't remember. I have to dig out the manual. But you know, they're on predominantly 99.9% of the time. So you follow, and all they're doing effectively is they're just giving the guidance for the autopilot, but they don't have to be on for the autopilot to work. So if I turn them off, for example, the autopilot is still doing what you want it to do. So if you go heading, it's still going to follow a heading. It doesn't need the flight directors to be on for the autopilot to work. It's just the visual representation of the guidance that is happening that the autopilot is following, if that makes sense. So, you know, they don't need to be on for the autopilot to work, but, you know, it just sort of helps you out as the pilot to kind of see what the aircraft is following in terms of, what's the word? You know, guidance modes, I suppose. If they're giving what I would only put down as crap commands, so if you're expecting it to do something or point you in a specific direction and then you're not going in that specific direction and you think the flight director commands are becoming spurious, you would turn them off. And if you turn them off, more often than not the auto thrust would still remain engaged. So if you turn them off, in fact, will it do it on that? I can't remember if it will. No, it's in thrust kind. A lot of the time, certainly on approaches, when you're flying a visual approach, you turn the flight directors off and the bird comes on, and then you effectively use the bird and the track indicator, because this turns into track. Ice not detected. I shouldn't have ice detectors. And then the autothrust will send speed, so you make sure the autothrust is in speed, and then you just fly the aircraft manually. I see so many people. Who was it? I won't name names because that's unfair, because I can't remember specifically, but I do see a lot of streams, a lot of people fly the Airbus. That's the real world guys, you know what, V1 simulation, he's a real world captain. If I just will come out of the oil thrust, yeah, exactly, that's the other thing. So yeah, there's a bit of a threat with that one. Yeah, I do see a lot of people leave flight directors on, especially when they're landing like a visual landing. So if you're going to a place like Skiathos, Innsbruck, let's find us some decent visual airfields. Tivat maybe, Split, that's another one. The visual approach onto 2-3. I see a lot of people keep flight directors on, and you shouldn't be doing that. Not when you're doing a visual approach, because the commands are now basically invalid. You know, you're not really following them. So it can cause all sorts of upsets with like your thrust, like Liana says, and various other things. So anytime you're flying a visual approach where you're basically looking out the window, it was an aircraft, you need to turn them off, because you're not following them. And that's the other thing. If you do a go around and you've got something coded in the flight plan which is all a bit weird, you might end up following the flight directors by what do you call, almost by habit, but then they will be leading you in the wrong direction. So yeah, that's it. What's the lock button? So Paul, that's just that's if you're doing a localizer only approach. So say for example Birmingham's got an ILS to runway 15. So if we get a chart up, it's easier to explain on the chart. Destination Birmingham, NDB ILS 15. That's what I want. So yes, we have an ILS to runway 15. If the glide slope is out, now this doesn't really get simulated in the simulator, unfortunately. I'm trying to work out a way. I don't really know how to do it. It's really annoying. I want to work out a way where I can amend scenery, but I don't think I can do it. Certainly not payware scenery, because I'm sure that's obviously all coded and locked out, so you can't change things. This is one thing that I would love Microsoft's Flightsim 2024 or develops, I would love it for them to give us the ability to disable particular parts. So disable the glide slope, for example, so that we can then start flying localizer only approaches. So occasionally you'll see a NOTAM. There is one at the minute for can I get any NOTAMs on here? Probably not. No. Where is it? Roads. I suppose, well, roads is the ILS completely, but you know, there's places where the glide slope in particular will be out of service, so the localizer will still work, but the glide slope won't be working. So in that case you would use the localizer only minimums, because you don't have any precision vertical guidance, and then you would fly this in like usually a lock track FPA mode. So you would only arm the lock because you're only following the localizer beam. You wouldn't use the approach mode because the glide slope isn't going to be there. There's not going to be any display because it's not working effectively. So that's why you would use the localizer only button. That's, you know, usually the 99% most of the time you do that. Yeah, Dan, it really would be. I'd love it, because there's a few airports that I've flown to recently where the ILS doesn't work, or glide slope doesn't work, etc. And it'd be just so nice to just sort of go into, I don't know, a menu in Flightsim or something, you know, somewhere where you can just go, right, just, you know, a tick box, just disable glide slope, and then it won't actually radiate in the sim. And it'd just be really nice just to sort of do that, and it just makes you think a bit more, because then it changes things like your planning minima. So roads, for example, at the minute roads, the ILS is out on runway 24. So you're only flying a VOR approach now. So of course your planning minima for your arrival has to be a little bit more. So it needs to be, you need to have the viz, obviously, which is always the case for legal stuff. But an on-position approach also needs then to have the ceiling, plus I think 200 feet. So I mean, roads is always cavic anyway. But you know, imagine roads is really awful weather. You know, if you don't have the weather to do the VOR approach, you then possibly need 2 destination alternates. So it just makes the whole thing a bit more interesting in a sort of thought process for planning. Yeah, there we go. Dan, Synosis Arnav, flights. Okay, come on, switch them off. Yeah, that's exactly what you do, Dan. So that is normal procedure. So whenever you're doing a visual approach, you turn the flight directors off. Normally you would keep the auto thrust on. I mean, most mad people turn the auto thrust on off, but you would need that turn into a speed mode, and then you just amend the track. So this would go into a, there we go. This would go into a track mode. Ignore the little mustache thing, because that would be turned off. So you'd be effectively, this would be your sort of mode. And then you would amend this little blue line. So you see a little blue line down here. This would then be aligned with your runway magnetic headings or whatever it is, and then you would just position the flight path vector underneath the blue line, and then that means you can effectively track the runway center line. When you're on it, you've got to be on it. So let's just go back to that. Let's put all that back to normal, and put you back to. That's better. Oh, what are you doing? Where are you going? Probably because it was just behind you. That one, that's better. That's better. So top climb's coming up. Yeah, top of climb and top of descent. Could you pull a perky brake there or introduce as a failure? Yeah, you could do easily. So obviously there's a few circuit breakers that work. Ew. Let's find a good one. Rad out's always good. There we go, rad out 2. So imagine that's failed, so we get a rad out 2 fault. Now anytime you usually get a fault, there's usually a reset, a QH reset, so that's usually a clue. If you see fault, that usually means there's a reset with it. Let's just have a quick look at the QH in here now. It's actually quite a quick flight this, so I'm going to be rushed to do a lot of things. But you know, it gives me a bit of a chance to maybe look at some stuff later on. System resets. Nav, come on, where are you? No, actually, funny enough, this is one which doesn't actually have a rad out fault. So a lot of the time when you see faults, it means there's a reset, but I mean that's not quite the case today. But yeah, if you had a rad out 2 fault, that would then quite possibly, that would, yeah, Katsu only. Am I Cat 2 only? Okay. I thought I'd be Cat 3 single. Maybe I am. I'd have to look at that. I have to look at the FCOM. I mean the break. Oh, I see what you mean, Leon. No, I don't think there is. Let's put you back in. Just put you back to normal. There is probably an ILS. Ooh. Let's have a look. Be a nav somewhere. There might be an ILS somewhere. Anti-ice, hydraulics, that controls auto flights. No. Comms, might be com. No, so I was wondering if there was an ILS antenna, maybe. Yo. Yo. So it's an ADF. I can't see. No. That there might be an ILS somewhere, but it would, if you disabled the ILS or pushed that in, it would probably disable the whole thing, which isn't really ideal. All right, let's just have a quick look at the arrival, not in terms of briefing it, but just what has it got in the box. Oh, there we go. That's probably going to work quite nicely, actually. Down to chase. Let's just sort that out. So what's the chase flight 090? Now they've gone straight in here, so I think the chances are you could get a straight in out of it. 115. So if I want to be, what's the platform? 2,500 feet. If I want to be, say, 4,000 at chase. That'd probably give me more time to get down. Literally going up and going down on this one. So there, you pay rents. This pay, this pay rent you mentioned earlier. Let's see. No, it's just it's nothing significant, Dan. Just they've missed a payment off my supplementary pay slip, which I need to discuss with, and that can come off. It come back on again because we tend to send it in a second. Right, flap 3, that would do. Let's get some weather in. Right, so I think a normal Cat 1 approach is going to be fine. The minimums are 503 feet. Wind 090 at 9. Temperature is 171015. Good. That's in. Alright, out star. It's on below. Out, where are you out? Fairly sure it's evens. I'm probably embarrassing myself, it might be odds. No, yeah, any sort of west is even, that's fine. Any speed, do that in a second. When entering the minimums, how do you distinguish between radio and barrow? Nice and easy one. Yeah, nice easy one, Andy. So anytime, I'm just going to go down in seconds. So anytime you're doing an auto land, you're going to be looking at your auto lands. It's radio altimeter. So there we go. We've got a Cat 2 and 3 ILS approach. So you would either be using, there's no value here, that's because Cat 3B, so normally if the aircraft's all fully serviceable, which as is, we can go down to Cat 3B minima. It's actually Cat 3 without a decision height now. The vernacular's changed a little bit, but you would put, you can put a couple of things, it doesn't matter what you do, but you can put no or no DH, it doesn't really matter. You know, it's just basically no, and so there's no decision height at all, because you're not making a decision, you're basically going all the way down to the ground. So, you know, there isn't really a decision to be made. If you're Cat 3 with a decision height, which is Cat 3A, it would be 50 feet, and that's, again, radio, so you'd put 50 feet in. And again, that would be, you would do Cat 3 with a decision height if you had a failure. That dropped you to, you know, sort of Cat 3A minimum. So an autopilot, if you only have one autopilot working, for example, your landing capability is Cat 3 single, which is the equivalent of Cat 3A. So then you can only go down to these minimums. Same way as if you were Cat 2. If the auto thrust wasn't working, you're then Cat 2, so you have to go down to these minimums. And of course, we're a Cat C aircraft, because that's based on the threshold speed. So then our radio height value would be 98 feet. Right, let's start going down again. That's a really quick flight, this one. Oh, not that one. Come on. Come on, shit spots. Oh, no, work. Fuck me, honestly. You've got to sort that out. Right, I can go back to manage speed. So yeah, that's why you'd put radio altimeters in. Radio not available when doing. No, you don't. It's not a radio approach. It's RNAV means area navigation. So when you're doing effectively what would be a visual landing, you then put your decision altitude in, which in our case is 503 feet. So that's the difference. So this is basically if you're planning to do like a visual landing off, you know, an RNAV approach, an on-position approach, an ILS approach, you know, Cat 1 approach. This is only really reserved for auto lands, and the value go in there depends on your capability of your aircraft. At the minute, when we look at the status sheet here, there's no failures, so we know this aircraft is what we call Cat 3 dual, which is fully serviceable. All right, you can go back on. Right, what are we doing? Birmingham. That one. And it's Vegas, Lesbo wasn't it? Birmingham traffic. Monarch A3 Foxtrot is descending flight level 290 for the Lisbo 1 Bravo arrival for runway 15. Right, that's done. That's done. That's set. Well, that's done. Right, what else is there? Is there an acronym for briefing arrivals, departures? Acronym, sort of. We've changed our briefing style a little bit. We do something called smart brief, which I mean, effectively, you know, I just brief things and go, what's going to kill me? Is there a load of weather around? You know, potentially, is it really busy airspace? In terms of how you brief, we don't really do this anymore, but we used to do sort of top hats. So in terms of I don't know why that's dropped out, but obviously you look at all the information in here, and then you can go through the box methodically, so you can sort of brief. What are you doing? It's got open descent. Yeah, you can sort of go flight plan, RADNAV's progress, perf, fuel, and you just sort of brief in that sort of order, I suppose. You know, we don't really sort of do that quite so much anymore because don't really need to. In terms of an acronym, sort of, you know, briefing the important things we can use once, which is weather, aircraft, NOTAMs, and threats. And that works for any aircraft. You know, just what's the weather, what's the aircraft like, what's the NOTAMs, and what are the threats. You know, the threat can be anything really. It could be you. You know, you could be brand new and don't know what you're doing. That's always a threat. Monarch Ops, I'm late. I don't care. Bugger off. Right, what's the next one? 200 at Manchester, apparently. I don't know why it says descends. So I've got 9,000 feet to lose in, what's that, 70 odd miles, and it thinks I should be descending. you know, that'll need about 30 miles to be from Manchester before I start going down. So yeah, don't know what's going on there. Not sure. Same Airbus, but it's something to give platform management to set the altitude for you minimum to avoid. No, I don't know what that is. I'm not sure it's Airbus, but something. When you go to your platform altitude, you set the altitude to your minima to avoid an altitude capture. No, I don't know. Don't know what that is. Definitely not. When you get to your platform altitude, you don't do anything. I mean, you know, that will be your platform altitude, and then you're on the approach. And then when you start the approach of an RNAV and you go into fine lap, that's when you set your missed approach altitude. You don't set it to the minimum at all. No. Definitely not doing that. C-152 taxi is a threat. I don't think there's any. No ATC. Lots of other airfields, but not Birmingham. I'm not going to brief this too much. I'm just going to do an RLS, probably straight in. Weather should be good enough. What was it? 4,500 meters. Let's just write this down so I've got it. Where's that? That's the 921, so should be a more up to date one actually. There we go, 950. That's got a bit better. So 100 now, 10 knots. Bit of a crosswind, 7,000 meters. That's okay. Broken at 600, so relatively late in seeing the runway. 18 degrees now. Done. Yeah, I'm not going to start descending until I'm about 30 odd miles away from Manchester. I suppose this may have maybe think I need to descend just to capture that altitude around what was it? What was the name of the waypoint? Chase. Maybe it's that. What's that? 21, 18, 40, 47 odd miles. Well, we're going to be at 20,000 feet. We've got 15. Well, that's about right. We're going to have about 15,000 feet after Manchester to get down to Chase, and we need about 45 miles to do that, which is going to have, we're more or less going to have it. That's okay. We can make that. No problems. Why is anti-ice on? Because we're just sort of in the top of the clouds now. Oh, what's happened there? So yeah, we're just in the top of the clouds. Anytime you're in descent, going through visible moisture, anti-ice should be on, and temperature sort of in between, where it's below +10 and -35. So it's sort of in icing conditions effectively. We're in visible moisture, and this is icing conditions, hence why the anti-ice is on. The ice not detection though, that should be off, because I shouldn't actually have that. Yeah, that shouldn't be a function of this aircraft. So once aircraft would yeah, basically, Elliot. So, for example, as I said with the aircraft, you might have an MEL. You might have an MEL to say that autopilot 2 isn't working. In which case, on a day like today or something, or if if you're planning to do like an auto land, your aircraft is only capable of Cat 3 with a decision height because an autopilot isn't working. So that's a bit of a threat that your minimums are a bit higher. You obviously then need some visual references as well. So Cat 3 with a decision height is 3 centerline lighting. You need to see 3 centerline lights as your visual references at 50 feet. If you don't have that, you're supposed to go around. You're going to get the free. I do, yeah, Paul. I do definitely want to get it. As long as my PC can handle it and I've got enough space on the hard drive, I do want to get that because I think that would be a really good aircraft. I've never flown it in real life. I know it reasonably well, but never actually flown it. But yeah, I think that would be quite a nice addition because it would be very similar to this, but you can do slightly longer flights. Right, I don't think there's much else to brief. Low order brake idle reverse thrust should be fine. In terms of where we're going to get off, I think the KLM earlier, that's landed. Where's the charts? It landed, probably come off at Charlie. Parking stands, there we go. My plan is one of these stands here, 41, I think that's where the KLM parts one of these stands, 41 Charlie, maybe something along those lines. it actually seems to have the top of descent arrow maybe in the right place now. Have you tried self-load it? I haven't, no. I know it's supposed to have got a little bit better, isn't it? Thing is, it almost seems a bit too involved now. Like, I know Gav's got it, and he's starting to talk to cabin crew and various other things and PAs. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing a bloody PA. All right, I'm on a simulator, for goodness sake. There's no one sat behind me. Even my dog's not sat behind me. He's that bored. So I'm not going to start doing PAs on a simulator for the sake of an application. Can't wait for the IEs and 321. Yeah, that's going to be good. I'm going to enjoy that when that comes out. Told us 320 Neo after landing in Jersey had hot brakes, and then the brake fan circuit breaker broke. Is this normal? Oh, there you go. Oh, I don't know. There you go. It's a failure, I suppose. I mean, I've never had the brake fans not work. If you need the brake fans, you turn them off. And never had the circuit breaker go. Don't even know where it is. Where is it? Somewhere on here, probably. Landing gear. Is it flight controls EIS? Don't know. Don't know where it is. Where is it? No idea. Somewhere. But no, I've never actually had that fault in real life. But you know, there you go. It's a failure. It's what you might have to deal with. You may not have the brake fans. It's the flushing the loo all the time that seems to get clear. Yeah, I mean, I never hear the toilet flush. Right, there we go. So about 30 odd miles away from Manchester now. So there we go. And start going down. So let's just go. Thrust idle, percent flight level 200 blue. Have you ever had engines stop working in real life? No, Paul. Thankfully, not in flight. I have had a. What was it? An engine starter shaft shear ECAM on engine start. That was interesting. That was. I wonder if they've got it in the failures here. Yeah, that sort of got our attention because we thought, oh, piss. That's probably not a good thing. Didn't hear anything. I didn't actually think there's anything had happened. Probably not in here actually. When you looked at the FCOM, the abnormal side of things, start fault. So I wonder if it's a start fault. Hot start, no ignition. No. It basically said do not attempt to restart, which I suppose was quite obvious if the starter shaft is sheared. So yeah, that was an interesting one. We just went back to Stan. Engineer came on, did a little test and stuff. Said no, it's fine. It's not a problem. Yeah. Yeah, we never hear the toilet. I mean, you know, probably just go off in real life more frequently than I know, but I never hear the toilet go off. So again, 6,000 feet to lose, need about 18 miles, and we're just under 23 miles, so that's looking fine. Don't know where this top of descent arrow thing will level off. I mean, that's just going nuts. I'm not going to worry too much about that. Vertical profile seems to be quite happy. We know we've just about got enough distance to get down to about 4,000 feet or something for chase. That's going to be fine. I don't think there's much else we need to do. Interesting if the scenery works for this. I do have it in the community folder. Hopefully it's not all pink. It's been a while since I've updated it, so it might be. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure self-loading cargo, I'm sure it's a decent application. I'm sure they've done a pretty good job, but it just almost, I think there's almost a bit too much. I mean, I did kind of criticise GSX when it came out. I said, you know, why on earth do you need GSX for? It's just a load of eye candy, you know, but yeah, I still have it. Although I do think it's quite good for things like pushbacks. Self-loading cargo, you know, is it something that I need to use? Probably not. You know, I suppose it would be quite nice if I had it, but it just seems something else to do in what's probably already quite a busy environment anyway, as a sort of single pilot within a simulator. Right, just have a look at quick look at the weather radar. So this is quite interesting. So it's just a band of weather going through Birmingham as we speak. Nothing seems to be too convective. I don't think there's thunderstorms, but there is this sort of squall line of weather kind of going through. So it'd be nice if the simulator simulates that weather. So the visibility could drop a little bit. The rain could, the rain showers could increase in intensity. Yeah, the announcements. Yeah, I suppose it's, could be quite useful for announcements. Again, I don't pay any attention to announcements that goes on in the back here. That's not my department. I didn't do a fuel check or anything, but it looks like we've still got 2.5 tons, 3.7. What's that? 5? That's about 6.5, isn't it? So that's okay. Very quick flight, of course. Only one fuel check would have been required. That's all looking good. Didn't really do any of these, but that's all fine. That's good. Didn't really get a chance to look at any failures. I mean, I think I've got time. I've got loads of time walking the dog at 3, but yeah, the plan was to do 2 sectors. I mean, I could have done 2 sectors in this, but I think the option is really up to you guys. I mean, I don't have to do another sector so much, but I mean, I can do things, maybe failures, look at something specific if somebody wanted to look at something specific, either on the ground or in the air. The testing video I did last week, that was designed to test the single engine performance, because I know they're supposed to have tweaked that. Unfortunately, I seem to have broke the Fenix app and it didn't seem to work, so I don't know, we can always attempt to have another look at that, and maybe do some single engine stuff. Is it really good? Yeah. I think the other problem as well for my PC, I'm probably running out of space to put things on my PC, and I think my PC is almost running out of steam as well to actually run things. So it's for 1,000 to go. So I just think they're gonna. PC's just probably running out a bit of puff. Failures. Yeah, I can look at failures. So we can look at a couple of things. Anything specific? Right, speed out star. Right, were there any constraints? I don't think there are. I think that was the last constraint. I mean, the last constraint really is chase at 90, but I'd assume I'd be under some sort of radar control right now, and they'd probably clear me for a straight and approach. So I'll be able to get cleared down to 4,000 feet, which is what I'm going to do. Again, this is sort of assumption. Right, so thrust eyed open descent. Let's get all USAT. Should have preset you to 1015. Come on, shit spots. There we go, 1015. Right, so sec QNH, that is cross checked. We got 4,000 feet is blue. Get the RLS, that is all on. Oh, not you. That's it. So we'll be 53 miles away, 20,000 feet. So yeah, maybe a little bit high. 20,000 feet, you're looking at about 60 miles to run. So let's get a bit of speed brakes out, kill some fairies. Try and brake the plane. Yeah, well, that's quite easy. I can brake the plane quite easily, but being able to use it is probably more critical. Weather's looking alright. I mean, this is just the weather that we kind of expect, and nothing really too convective, just lots of heavy rain showers, and it's just probably going to be rather moist. Let's get these in and prepare the camo for landing, which would trigger the approach checks. Approach checklist. Says Barrow FQNH 1015 is set. Seatbelts are on. Minimum is 503 feet set. Auto brake is low, and EFBs are stowed and still disconnected. So after chase, I think the plan is to go down to 2,500 feet, which is the platform. How many miles is between chase and only 2? No, yeah. If we can get down a bit lower than that, that might help. Let's go 3,000. MSA is not a problem around here. What have we got MSA wise? 2,500 within 25 miles, so that's okay. Sure, we'll be under positive radar control. Yes, I know the speed brake's still out. Why you're at thrust idle? That shouldn't come up. That ECAM should only really be coming up if you've got thrust on, to remind you you've got the speed brakes out. So potentially heavy rain now as well. So that's the other thing. So heavy rain. Let's put that to ignition, which is one of the things we can do, just to stop the engines flaming out. And again, 3,000's blue. So that's looking a bit better. Got 10,000 feet to go. We got about 30 miles, so that's looking a little bit better. How far to the threshold now? 42 miles. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so we're well below profile now. This is looking a lot better. Probably got down a bit too much. But we need a little bit of time to slow down as well. Let's pull you. Activate the approach phase. So yeah, it's got us levelling off just before chase. That's looking reasonably good. Birmingham traffic. Monarch A320 Foxtrot is overhead Vagar. We got about 30 odd miles left to go for the ILS. Going to do a straight in ILS to runway 15. So it's still reasonably light in the flight deck. It'd probably be a little bit darker than this given the clouds we're in. There you go, India Bravo, India Romeo is identified as well, which is what the ILS is. DME's co-located to that, which is always good. Not quite picking up the DME yet though. So we've got 22 miles to chase. About 15,000 feet, 16,000 feet. Sorry, 6,000 feet to lose. Needs about 80 miles. So yeah, we're looking pretty good. Just need to slow down. So a little bit below the profile, but that's fine. Into the soup. Oh, there we go. Now it's getting a bit darker. Ironically, it's actually getting a bit lighter outside my window as well. Should have slowed down really. 250. So it doesn't look like there's anybody else flying to Birmingham, which is helpful. Is there anybody on the ground? No, I don't think there is. Good. So there's not really any controllers and not really anybody else around. Nice. So yeah, 3,000 just about chase again. Don't think I ever saw Birmingham from the air last year. Constantly overcast. Yeah, yeah, you do occasionally see it. You know, very, very occasionally. It is quite rare. Yeah, not much to see, sadly. Probably not much out the window either. No. Very, very moist. Very, very moist. So I got 24 miles to the runway. Again, be interesting to test out the controls on this. I think I have my sensitivity set at -20, which seemed to be a little bit better. I know, I think Fenix suggested -30. That didn't seem to be responsive enough for me. Not when there was quite strong winds. I needed a bit more response. -20 seemed to be a bit better. I can't remember. I don't know what I've got the turbulence, so I think it's low or mild. Not missing much. Hey, you said that, not me. It was a VATSIM event, 2 hours for clearing. Really? Christ. Yeah, I try to avoid the events because I don't know. As much as I think events are quite good fun, I just think they're almost oversubscribed nowadays. Yeah, it's typical weather. This is exactly, you know, or typical August weather. Alright, let's see if we can shallow you off a bit. Well below the profile. Let's manage you. Let's manage speed. Speed VS. Yeah, they just seem to be. Did you try linear for? I think they are. Yeah, no, I think the side stick's on linear. Oh no, is it? No, sorry. Well, that is the that is the linear, isn't it? You know, the sensitivities makes it unlinear. So yes, it was. Yeah, I did try it when it was on linear. That was if you watch the last video I did, not the testing one, the one before that when I landed in Heathrow, you will notice that the landing in Heathrow was all over the shop. So that was linear. So it was far too sensitive. So yeah, it needed to be less sensitive than that, which -30 was not sensitive enough. Yeah, I think -30 is not. It needs to be a bit more than that, in my opinion. Birmingham traffic, Monarch A320 Foxtrot is approaching trace and then starting the straight-in approach ILS for runway 15. Right, 16 miles, that's looking pretty good. Height is pretty good. Let's just shallow this right off. Let's keep going down to 2,500, which is the platform. Probably be clear for the approach. I'm just going to arm the lock and it says lock blue. Fenix recommends for metal sticks. Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's just. I mean, this is only the sort of second, third time that I've flown the new version of the Fenix. So you know, it takes a while just to sort of get a feel for it. And of course, you know, you fly in different conditions. You know, one day you fly in calm conditions, the next day you fly in really windy conditions. So it's just finding a sort of happy medium. There goes Red House Alive. Yeah, it's just trying to find a happy medium, really. Let's go flat 1, speed check flat 1. Let's get the landing lights on. Come on, shit spots. Where's the up arrow? I have a feeling this may be... maybe quite laggy on the approach. Let's just get you on as well, so I don't have to look overhead to do it. What was I going to say? 180 selected. Yeah. I've forgotten what I was saying. Completely forgotten what I was saying. Not quite a CDA. There we go. So I'm that right. Close look, lock blue. Cat 3 dual AP1 and 2. Linear is too sensitive. Yeah, it is. It is too sensitive. Yeah. Yeah, I do end up using the scroll, but it's still too sensitive in my opinion. Let's go flat 2. Speed check flat 2. Yeah, everything's still a little bit laggy. Not laggy when you expand the windows. Odd. There we go, Lockstar. Things are like the arrows. It sort of shows me what I'm doing. Right, definitely no ATC. Double check last. Paranoia check. Got Bristol, Manchester. Yeah, no, no Birmingham. Oh well. Aha! Oh, you have ground. Well, there is a planet beneath us. Right, that's looking good. It's 8 miles. That's fine. Let's start bringing it back to 160. Yeah, definitely a little bit laggy still. Maybe it's the NVIDIA driver's got to do. Glideslope star, missed approach altitude. What is the missed approach altitude? 3,000. There you go. So 3,000 set for the missed approach. Birmingham traffic. Monarch A320 Foxtrot is on the ILS 7 miles for runway 15. So yeah, let me try and show you. If I see pappies, I'm just going to aim to sort of basically keep the pappies at 2 reds, 2 whites, and the glide slope may start deviating at some point. I don't know what it is like for the Macco scenery, but we may get a slight discrepancy between the glide slope and the visual bit. But my main concern would be if the pappies are somehow aligned with the aim points, that is going to be effectively where I want to land. Right, let's get gear down. Gear's coming down. Manage speed. Flat 3. Speed checks. Flat 3. Flat 4. Speed check. Flat 4. Landing checklist. Cabin is secure for landing. Go around altitude 3,000 feet is set, and the cabin is landing no blues. So a little bit of a crosswind, 30 knots. That's quite nice. Try and get my feet in the right place again. Feet in view somewhere around there. I kind of want to see the top of the lower ECAM just so I can see the spoilers. and just want to see enough of you as well. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are definitely better. I need to put my shoes on, really. So that's about 1,000 there. Good. Where's the parking? I can't remember. Taxi. Parking stands. 41 Charlie, that'll do. So not visual yet, so I'm going to leave the automatics in, still with visual. Yeah, true, John. Yeah, I suppose it is. So yeah, still a little bit of a crosswind from the left. So just got to drag that centre line over a little bit on the nose, a couple of degrees. So there we go. We've got 2 reds, 2 whites, visual, disconnected.
500.
500 stable. Don't get laggy, please. Not at this stage. So just trying to follow the flight director as best I can. So again, I'm just really concentrating on the pappies now. I'm not really going to concentrate too much with the glide slope. Just trying to keep that aim point sort of about, you know, a third, 2/3, halfway up the runway, up the windscreen. So again, pappies are just beyond the aim point. So actually, 3 reds is probably not too bad. Don't want to get too low. But
100.
not going to chase it too much at this point. Just keep it coming.
Glide slope.
There's a glide slope, but the aim point's looking good.
30, 20.
Flare, bit of rudder. That'll do. Spoilers. Reverse green. Decel. And just holding that, which is quite nice. Manual brakes. So probably not the smoothest, but it will do. Less than 70 knots. And done. Time in that. Is this Bravo? Can't quite remember. Charlie, I think. And Birmingham traffic, Monarch Aircraft 3 Foxtrots vacated at Charlie, parking stand 41. Don't think we need that anymore. Temperature is actually fine, don't need the anti-ice. And see more clear on both sides. Hopefully the fire truck will get out of the way. Oh, flaps. That'd be a good idea, wouldn't they? Flaps coming in. Right, I think I've done everything else. That's all done. Taxi can go off. That's all fine. Kilo pressure's good. And we've got those as well. Oh, so hard to do everything. It's 41 left. 41 Charlie is what we want. Not going to bother a single engine. Just about coming up to 2 minutes. So it looks clear on the left. Yeah, the stand guidance obviously doesn't work. That's I don't know why you're saying turn right, mate. I think I'm pretty much on that centre line. Yeah, I think I know better than you. Close enough. I'll be fine. Right, parking brake is on. Right, good. So that wasn't too bad. That seemed to fly reasonably well. So I'm going to disconnect from Flightsim. So that's that. Yeah. So let's have a quick look at the sensitivities. That was reasonably accurate. Maybe just a little bit dead. There we go. So that's pitch. That's roll. So there we go. So I've got roll at 30. I think maybe pitch could have been a little bit higher. Maybe try that at 25. Yeah, let's try it at that one. Yeah, so I was pretty close. That wasn't too far off I would expect. Maybe just a little bit dead on the pitch, on the flare, just a little bit shy. But other than that, it wasn't too bad. So 25 maybe might be okay. I still need to still obviously need to practice that, I guess. Right, let's sort a few other things out. Weather, let's go live weather. Perfect. Right, the next thing I want to do is maybe some failures. Not that one. Fuel. Let's put 10 tons. Yeah, wrong one. What was it? Uh, 0.61. Slash. Right, I'm just sending out the box very, very quickly. That'll do. Right.
You need to stop the engines to request ground services.
Okay. That's fine. Do it this way. Do it through you. You off, Willie? Alright, no worries. Yep, cheers.
to start the engines to request.
Restart that. Don't actually need that.
You need to start the engines to request ground services.
Right, that's done. That's done. Yeah. Right, so I'm going to try and do a single engine takeoff. See if that works this time. It didn't work last time. Right, brake temps. Let's clear that. Let's get rid of that. Good. We'll program that in a minute. Just to see, I don't know what are we, 61, 71 tons. So we're not really max takeoff weight. We're not too far away from it, but we're not exactly on it. So yeah, it'd be interesting just to see how good the single engine performance is. Oh, it's gone. Oh well, fine. That's okay. Don't need to worry about that. That's done. He's disappeared. That's all done. That's done. That's done. Come off. Perfect. No. Back off. I think the engine model rework is... Yeah, the problem I did what I had last week was everything just crashed. You know, I couldn't control anything in the Fenix when we got the failure, so I'm going to see if it happens again. That's all done. That's done. Yeah. I'll just use full length departure. Try and get that GSX in to disappear in a second as well. It's a bit quick round the corner, never mind. Oops. Come on, how do you get rid of you? Alright, I think I've done everything. That's all done. That's done. Good. That's better. Let's get it off the screen. Let's put the parking brake from it. Right, let's get a failure in. Maintenance. I always forget, it's always the wrong one. Manual. Engine. Let's go. Yeah, so we can go fire. That's kind of what I wanted to do last week. Two bottles. That one. 145. Right, let's see if this works this time. Since it didn't work last time, so last week it just completely broke the sim, which wasn't really very good. Ugh. So this is why I don't like the scroll of the mouse wheel, because if you're not in the right place, it's just doesn't do anything. You just zoom in. Right, I'm assuming people are still on the chat, or have people just disappeared? Doesn't seem like anybody's still here. I don't know. Anybody watching? Apparently 30 people watching. Right. Yeah, good. Yeah, good. Okay. Right, so this should be an engine fire. Should be number 2. So I think everything's done. So it's just ready to test the single engine model. See if that's any good. I think everything else is done. That's good. That's good. That's fine. Yeah, just so I've just cleared the weather. Obviously, I've come off VATSIM because I'm not doing that on VATSIM, but it's just to really see how well this performs if it does it. And I've still got. Oh no, don't see. Oh no, you are doing it. Good. I said a lag there, but yeah, last time I did this, it broke everything, so I couldn't control it. So it'll be interesting to see if I still have control of the aircraft. But yeah, it's definitely a lag. Yeah. Parking brake would be a good idea, wouldn't it? So I'm on Flex 55 SRS runway. Thrust is set. $100 knots. V1 rotates. Oh, I remember this. This is actually a single engine. Oh, bollocks. Yeah, this is what happened last time, wasn't it? Crap. Okay. So yeah, it should be a bollocks. Done it wrong again. Lever asymmetry. Should be in. Okay. Yeah, so I'm actually expecting a loss of thrust, which I didn't get. Crap. Okay. Okay. Maybe I might clear that. What I might be interested to do. Yes, I remember this last. Why have they got an engine fire, but without the loss of thrust? That's what I don't quite understand. It should be an engine fire with loss of thrust as well. Right, just having an engine too fire is kind of irrelevant. Restart from the runway. Yeah, I could do it. Just means setting it all up again, Paul. What I could do though is I could just kill the engine. Right, so thrust MCT. So we killed the number rights engine. So we've done that. I'm not going to go engine to fail. Alright, let's just run through this. Obviously everything's still working. So yeah, we're sort of quite heavy. Interesting. So yeah, this is quite interesting. We're at 3,000 feet. Reasonably heavy, not at max takeoff weight, nowhere near max takeoff weight, but we're still struggling. Really struggling. Oh, gears down as well. Yeah, that'll be why. Still struggling to accelerate, because the gear's still down. Alright, let's just see how well it accelerates single engine. Right, anyway, engine mode setter, that is ignition, engine 2 thrust lever, that is number 2, that's idle. Engine master off, that's number 2, that's confirmed, that's off. Damage, no, it's no damage because we got N1, so there's no damage. So we're not going to try and restart it. That's fine, engine, not going to push that, not going to do that, let's just clear that. That's done. That's done. Secondary, so air bleeds, that is probably because... Yeah, that makes sense. Let's start the APU. So yeah, bleeds come up just because Pack 2's not being... There's no air coming from anything for Pack 2, so that's fine. The electrics, obviously generator 2's come off because we shut it down, so APUs will be coming on in a second, that makes sense. Cross bleeds, performance Smith, cross bleeds, yeah, potentially could be able to do that. Not any anti-ice, Cat 3 single. So this is another thing, so we had a counter down to Cat 3 single. Did you set up for an engine fire? The on simulations found the same, didn't actually affect the edge. Yes, it's exactly, yeah. But we can go back, we can try and do a single engine landing, and then we can spin it around, clear everything, and try it again. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Yes, I'm happy with all that. That's fine, APU's coming on. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up for an ILS 015. That's it, performance. I think we just ISA effectively. So 1013. I suppose that needs to be set. 15. I think the winds are calm, so calm winds. 503, remember that. So we're above max landing weight here as well. So max landing weight is, what is it, 66 tons I think on these ones. I think I set it up for. Yeah, 66. So single engines, we can't do an auto land now because we're above max landing weight. So it's got to be a manual landing. So fortunately the weather's fine. Config full is still good as well. Let's get the ILSs back on. So 16 miles away. Let's just go off to the west initially. See how well single engine performance is. Let's just activate that. Give you manage, that goes west speeds. So a little bit of rudder trim, which is kind of expected really for the sort of speed we're doing. So yeah, at least this is going to be a good test on just single engine performance above max landing weight on the approach. Let's go back to the east. So the FCU seems to be pretty responsive now, so I don't know, it's just, I don't know whether this lag is due to scenery. I'm not too sure, not too sure what it is. But yeah, our engines are really, you know, really putting out a lot of thrust at these sort of weights. You can see we're sort of we're just sort of on the characteristic speed as well. So normally we would because we're just on airspeed, we would sort of select 195 knots in this case for flap 2. Hey Christian, is it weekends? Is it Friday? I don't know, I guess so. Get the lights in, it's a bit more drag. So that's the centre fix. Let's go down to 2,500s. Maybe the heavy, yeah, possibly, Paul. It might have been that, because yeah, actually the screens don't seem to be as laggy now, do they? I think I've got my clouds on ultra, which may not help. Maybe I do need to. Yeah, maybe I need to actually look at that. Right, let's just so we're not busting VFE. Let's go 195. So below VFE, that's fine. Flap 2, 180. Still, it is still a little bit laggy though. Yeah, it's still a bit laggy. Are you lost in time again? Probably. What would be quite interesting is to try the single engine go around performance, so I can do that. So I can do a go around at minimas, and then fly the missed approach, whatever that is. I don't think it's much, is it? Straight ahead, is it? And come back round again. Yeah, straight ahead's basically to sort of 3,000, and maybe just do a right hand circuit back into land. So good APUs there. So technically we could have the APU bleed on. So now the APU bleed is on because there's no extinguisher or anything. So the APU is now going to provide both packs, which is going to take the strain off the engine a little bit, which is kind of what we want at these sort of weights. So there you go, cross feeds, cross bleed is opening. That's it. So now pack 1 and 2 is fine. And airfield is, there we go, straight ahead of us. So, yeah, it's annoying because I do like them when they look nice. You know, when they're on sort of high or something. That, yeah. Probably just going to have to turn it down and just accept the fact I need slightly lower performance on the clouds because they're just a bit too much. Right, let's arm that. So we've got glow soap lock blue Cat 3 single now AP102. Well, that's interesting. I think that's been corrected. I want to say that was Cat 3 dual on the last Phoenix. Potentially. I do remember there being an error with the FMAs when you had a specific failure. It didn't say the FMA correctly. I don't know if that was maybe an engine failure, or whether that was an autopilot failure. Like I said, if autopilot 2 wasn't working, you'd also be Cat 3 single. If you get an auto thrust failure, you get down to Cat 2. Interestingly enough. There we go, Cat 2, see? So if you have an auto thrust failure, that drops out to Cat 2 as well. Interesting, so that looks like that's a bit better. Right, that's speed. Right, so we're kind of doing almost a stabilised approach here because we're quite heavy. So let's manage speed. Thankfully this has never happened to you. Thankfully not, Paul. No, it's so fast, so good. So it's a bit like an LPC item, so we would do this, so we'd have to fly this manually, so the autopilot would have had to have been off really. This is a bit like an LPC item, so autopilot would have been off. Had to fly this manually. Obviously would have been a little bit of help from our pilot monitoring. So glide slope star. Again, oh come on, oh, for fuck's sake, fucking thing. 3,000 for the mist. Flap 3. And flap 4. So we don't have to take the auto thrust out on all LPC items. I think every 3 years we have to demonstrate one with the auto thrust out. So now all I've got to do is just make sure the rudder is good. 8 units. It's not too bad actually. It's probably more or less in trim for the rudder. That was the other thing. The beta target should be blue with single engine with a configuration, so that should be blue now, which it isn't. So that needs to be fixed. Flight directors seem a little bit keen. You know, I look pretty good. Maybe a little bit left of centre line. Oh, sorry, a little bit right of centre line. A little bit of corrections to the left. But it's not too bad. So yeah, lots of thrust needed just due to the weights. Maybe just a touch more trim. It's a little bit better. Just a tiny little bit less. So yeah, reasonably in trim again. I'm pretty, yeah, centerline's pretty good. It's getting a little bit, thinks I'm quite far right. I'm not. The flight directors are maybe a little bit oversensitive. That's fine. So yeah, obviously go around actions, be going toga. There's going to be quite a lot of asymmetric thrust. There's going to be quite a bit of left-hand rudder on this one. Follow the flight director, sort of initially pitch up to about 10 to 12.5 degrees, then follow the SRS. So go around flaps come up, pitch up, breathe the FMAs, positive climb, gear up.
500.
So 500 stable. So yeah, maybe a little bit right. It's fine.
$100 above.
It's jets.
Minimum.
Alright, go around flaps. So Antoga SRS, go around track. That's fine because it's an old one. Follow the SRS. We're quite heavy, so don't let the speed drop too much. Oh, so it's gone blue actually. It's a bit better. Use a bit of trim. So watch the speed, stickhead. So try and centralise that rudder. Let's just get you back in nav. So nav. Positive climb, gears coming up. That'll help things out a little bit. Speed is, yeah, not really happy with that speed. Come on. We don't accelerate until we're actually at the missed approach altitude. That's a little bit better. Now we got a bit more performance. Trying to keep that blue beta target a bit more central, which is about there. So yeah, this performance is, I'm relatively happy with this single engine performance. This is pretty consistent with these sort of weights. You know, it's definitely, wouldn't say it's too unrealistic at all. You know, lightweight you'd be a lot more. So I don't think that would quite be a failure on the speed for the LPC item. You know, it's a little bit low, but I'm following the flight directors. You know, I am following SRS, doing as best I can. You know, we haven't, the climb didn't stop at any point. Take it, just to make things a little bit easier. Let's just pull head in. Just not going downwind. Just so I'm not wasting too much time. Where's the time? 12:15. That's fine, I've got loads of hours. Yeah, I wouldn't really be expected to be such into VLS there. We're getting pretty close to sort of alpha max. So let's outstar. Now as we accelerate, we need less rudder. So there's out. So we should start accelerating now. Take the rudder trim off a little bit. Height keeping is pretty shite. There you go, for SP flat 1. SP's check flat 1. So again, this is fairly similar to what an LPC item is like. You've got to sort of hand fly all this all the way up to basically go around altitude and when you clean. So again, height keeping's a bit dodgy. But flight directors definitely seem a bit oversensitive. They're not quite this sensitive in real life. They're a bit more lazy. Are the FO in these situations ever in control? Yeah, because they've got to do it. They've got to do it for their LPC sticks, so they have to do this as well because it's all part of their license requirements. So they have to demonstrate exactly the same thing as what I'm doing here, because it's part of them revalidating their license or the privileges of their licenses, I suppose. Go on. Oh, you're getting slow to accelerate. Come on, mate. Wouldn't normally be this slow. This is really draggy. I don't know why the gear's up. I haven't quite timed it. I'm sure we haven't had 10 minutes yet, but still got a bit of flap out. There we go. It's above SB's flap 0. Clean things up a little bit. Again, high keeping, it's pretty shit. There we go, so there we go, and get the autopilot in now. So that would be the end of that. Probably not the best single engine go around I've done, but I think the sim's a little bit easier. Right, let's try that again to actually land. So activate U again. That's that done, that's that done. No, yeah, let's do that as well. See what I think. Speed, forgot about that one. That's done. Right, so let's give it another go. So that's all done, APU's still on. Speed brakes are still armed. So I didn't actually think that go-around performance was that bad, single engine. That seems reasonably good. The performance was probably as I expect for these sort of weights. We're not at max takeoff weight, we were sort of above max landing weight though, and we sort of maintained somewhere between, I'd say, 500 feet to 1,000 foot rate of climb. Feet per minute rate of climb, which that's pretty normal. Real max takeoff weights, you're probably not going to be getting much over 500 to 600 feet a minute rate of climb. So that wasn't too far off. We can adjust this again and have a look at it, but it seemed like it was really at the upper limits of its performance. I don't think I would have been too much heavier trying that. I think that would have been a little bit hard work. So yeah, I don't think it's too bad. It's difficult to say, really. Difficult to compare because it's not really something that I do regularly. Because I'm only ever doing this in the sim sort of once every year, every 6 months at the most. So it wasn't horrific. Let's put it that way. Right, let's go back to you. Let's start slowing you down. Flat 1. Right, there's no change on that. We can clear it. Right, so what I'll do is I'll land, I'll turn around at the end of the runway and then try a single engine takeoff. Again, I'll boost the weight up a bit, just to see how that goes. And then I think once I've done that, once I'm in the air, if anybody wants to see a particular failure, then obviously feel free to suggest something and then we can have a look at another failure. Once we're in the air again. And certainly have a look at sort of how it affects us. Can't really replicate this in real life. No, no, not really. No, I don't really want to replicate it in real life either. What is the risk of landing with 3 tons overweight stick? There's not really many risks. Obviously, just a lot heavier. You got a lot more inertia. The brakes, there's going to be a lot more energy going through the brakes. So they're likely to get a lot hotter. The performance is degraded, as we've just seen. It doesn't climb that well, certainly for single engine. Your landing distance increases, that increases quite a bit, so you have to make sure that you're landing at a nice long runway. What else is there for overweight? Your landing rates, I think the figure quoted from maintenance is you want to land below minus 360 feet a minute rate of descent, because otherwise it's a maintenance check, and they can usually work that out. Right, it's outstar, knock star. Let's just bring this back. So 195, below VFE, so flat 2, speed jet fleet. Flat 2. Manage that. Phase with good ecam messages to follow. Yeah, I mean, feel free. Could we do something with the rats and how it works? Yeah, it could do. I mean, the rat works in 2 ways. It's an electrical thing and a hydraulic thing, so you can certainly look at maybe hydraulics. Could look at, I could look at some of the current LOE items, but probably a bit unfair to be streaming that, seeing as that's a current LOE item. But could do something. Right, it's out. You can see very high pitch attitudes here, high thrust, sort of back at F speed. Again, pretty normal. All right, let's get the gear down. There we go, 3000 is set for the missed approach. Flat 3, speed check flat 3. Flat 4, speed check flat 4. Right, that's good, that's done. Your sequence, that's fine, that's looking good. So I'm just going to let the autopilot fly this bit. What's VLS? 139. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Maybe 145, just an extra knot. So on approach, you're looking, I mean, this is quite heavy, but you're almost looking about sort of something around 70%, and one bit more on this one because we're very heavy. About 7 degrees units of trim. Again, a little bit more than that because we're a little bit heavier. So that's pretty consistent with sort of what we expect. Maybe a little bit more than normal, just due to the weights. What about this in the 321? Yeah, 321's fun. I mean, funnily enough, the sims are only 320 sims, so you never do this in a 321. Right, the simulated 321. I mean, that would be fun at max landing weight, single engine max landing weight. Oof. Yeah, behave. That's a good couple of weeks off, I think, to recover from those things. Right, so landing is exactly the same. There's a little bit of asymmetric thrust, so the the aircraft is likely to swing a little bit due to the lack of the thrust. There's obviously a little bit of rudder trim, so it might swing a little bit with the nose left. But other than that, it's normally a normal landing. Let's get the lights on. Oh, fucking thing. I fucking hate these. Really are useless. But yeah, apart from that, it's a relatively normal landing. And again, you're just sort of looking out the runway, or looking out the window, looking at the runway. Pappies are, yeah, a little bit beyond the aim point. I sort of expect them a bit more. I mean, it might be like that in real life. Can't quite remember Birmingham. So you just sort of want to keep this aim point relatively static in the windscreen. Obviously, see we're drifting a little bit right there, just to the thrust on the engine. Just come back a little bit on there, going a little bit high as well. Pappies are looking okay. Don't really want to destabilise the aircraft at this sort of point.
100 above. Minimum.
Flight slow.
Yeah, disregard.
20. Retard.
There's the swing. Ooh, try and keep it. There we go, it's about there. Max reverse. A little bit of rudder just to counteract the reverse thrust. Surprised I don't really have. There we go. Thought they might have had an E-cam then. Ooh, come on. Thought I might have had an E-cam there about the reverse on number 2, but didn't. That's fine. I suppose the engine sort of still works, doesn't it? It's just there's not really any hydraulic issues. Right, so let's go to the end. Let's try this again. So I mean that was relatively successful. Again, something like this, sort of pretty heavy weights, we'd probably just roll as much as we could. Take the pressure off the brakes. Don't want them getting too hot. But equally, you want to stop at some point. Probably stuck. How about stuck aileron failure? Oh, Christ, no. No, not doing that. I don't even think you can simulate that, to be honest, Christian. Yeah, I think I'd be applauding that if I got down after a single engine above max landing weight. Right, let's just pause it here. Right, let's get you done. Let's see. Right, set this up again. Maintenance. Let's get that back on. Alright, looks like engine 2's coming back on, that's fine. Come on, clear. Let's get 10 tons on again. Yeah, 61. That'll do. Don't really care too much. Okay, these is just arbitrary figures. It's only roughly. Doesn't matter too much. Nice long runway here. Departure 15. Dun, 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 dun. Don't care about that. Perfect. Right, that's that bit done. That's all done. That started. That can come off. Ew, come on. I can go back to normal. Right, I think we got a good jet again. Yeah, it is. Everything's pretty slow. That's shut up. Right, let's try this again with the engine failure. Hopefully this will work. So again, very, very similar to weights to what we had last time, 71 tons. Take off. Is that rudder trim? Oh yeah, there you go. Well remembered, see, that's why we've got an ECAM. Let's reset. Done, that's done. Not worried about the cabin. Alright, let's put the parking brake on for a second. Let's try and reprogram the engine failure. So it's not the fire, yeah, it's annoying. It's a shame they don't have the engine fire with a failure. But let's do an engine fire this time. Sorry, engine failure. Let's do the other one. Engine. Let's do bird strike, that's usually quite good fun. Bird strike. Doesn't really matter. 148 knots. Arm. Done. Right, so everything still work. Yeah, controls still work. That's looking good. They all look like. Right, let's give it another go. Don't need that. All that. That's. Right, so you see what this single engine performance is like on this one. Yeah, I definitely need to do something about these screens being so laggy. I'll try and find out what the problem is. No, Manflex and SRS. So it should be the left engine that goes bang this time. Thrust is set. And 100 knots. Checked. Again, rudder's fine. I don't have any problems with rudder control or authority. I know some people probably am, but not me. It's V1 rotates. Positive climb, gear up. Now, why is the engine not failing? Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's all stopped. PFD is definitely broken. Look at the look at the standby instrument. Do I have any control? No, I don't have any control. I got roll control. I did have roll control. Yeah. So yeah, I've broken it again. Okay. Let's reset that. So I don't know if there's a fault with the engine failures, because this is what I did last time, and then just basically the entire thing just crashed. Well, not the crash, but it just basically I lost control of the aircraft. So I'm wondering if it's maybe I don't know, failure. So we can do it again, give it another go. Should we do it? Let's do it off Amsterdam. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was, Christian. Very strange. Very, very strange. You know, the engine fire seemed to be okay. Seems to be controllable with that. but didn't seem to be controllable with an engine failure of some sort. So give it another go. Again, it doesn't take very long to set these things up. Let's put that back on. Gear down. Ugh. Yeah, maybe I need to do the end video. I'm going to have a look at this afterwards. You know, I've got loads of time before I need to. I'm going to do having some lunch or something, really. But yeah. I should go make sure the dog's still alive as well, to be fair. But yeah, it's interesting as a definitely some sort of failure. I wonder if I can do graphics as well. Graphics. Put those on high. What was the other one? No, it's assistance, I think. Yeah, I think it was suggested to put on low. Medium seemed okay, to be fair. I mean, it did seem to work at medium. I'll just keep that as it is. Right. Right, bear with me while I just set this up again. Not going to take long. E. 6 left. Let's do this first. Config fuel. Yeah, that'll do. Yeah, that'll be fine. What's that? 59.2. 27. Again, don't really care too much about these figures. Should be 1,000 really. Again, don't really matter. Copy. Right, that's done. Let's get this. Has it saved? Yeah, it saved those. Good. Yeah, let's see if we can do this again. So yeah, I seem to be having problems getting failures. So yeah, let's just try an engine failure with nothing else. 1245 knots. Because yeah, it definitely didn't fail on that last one. So that's arms, good. That's done. That's done. That's done. Let's get you out. Done. 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 Because I'm being too quick for you, innit? There you go. Signs. Oh yeah, got all the lights. I think that's all done overhead. Whatever button it is, I don't quite know what triggers this now. So it's same. Yeah, we'll try again. If this happens again and the Phoenix crashes, then we've obviously identified there may be something wrong with the Phoenix, so it doesn't seem to like engine failures for whatever reason, which is fine if it does that. But then we can just disregard that, start again. We can start in the air or something, clear it out, and hopefully it'll be okay. Captain Q, hello, how you doing? So yeah, flight controls are working. That's the main thing. Let's just make sure. Yeah, you're disconnected from the tiller. That's fine. That's all done. Right. Oh. It's really difficult to test the single engine performance if the single engine failure doesn't bloody work. Although it did with the... when I failed it in flight. When I failed it in flight it was okay, so I don't know if there's maybe something on the ground, don't know. Whatever. Anyway, let's give it another go. That's that done. Alright, let's try it this time. Yeah, parking brake's a good idea, isn't it? Right, just go. Manflex SRS. Wind is probably a little bit from the left, I think. Yeah, the rudder's working. Yeah, so no, that rudder's fine. You know, having no problems with my rudder. Oh, behave. That's just my thrust levers. That's all right. So it's 100 knots. Just lightly sort of feathering the rudder. And V1 rotates. And there's the failure. So right rudder, right rudder, right rudder, right rudder. About 10 degrees. Ooh. So put it on the parcel shelf. That's looking good. It's positive climb, gear up. Use the trim to take the force off. What is annoying, well, it's, when you use the trim, it actually does fix the rudders. Which obviously it doesn't do that because my rudders aren't mechanically controlled, so let's just pull U. So that's a little bit, but let's just see what I'm doing. So I'm just so my rudders are sort of neutral now. Of course, they wouldn't be in real life; they'd be slightly displaced due to the trim. But that's looking pretty good. So more or less in trim there. Let's not try and lose too much speed. Toga is available, which I could use. There we go. There's Toga. So that's man Toga now. I'll try and follow the flight just as much as I can. So I don't do anything until 400 feet, but let's just use a little bit more trim.
Monarch 320. Did you hear my last transmission?
Yeah, I did. Fuck off. So basically just climbing straight ahead. So again, I don't expect the SRS to be... The SRS should be down here, really. I'm slow on speed, so the SRS should be below me to accelerate. So it's not quite bang on. Anyway, there's 400 feet. It's basically an engine failure, which we've confirmed. We're on Toga. Gear is up. We can put the autopilot in. So AP1. See how well this handles it. Ooh. Does it like it? Oh, doesn't like that. No. Right. Autopilot does not like single engine stuff. Fine. And don't sink. Oh, the trim's all over the place. Right. Hold it there. Hold it there. Come on. What are you doing? That trim is really messing around. Come on, normal law. Thank you. Yeah, the autopilot doesn't like it.
500.
That's fine. Don't you need the autopilot? Come on, climb, you bugger. So I still can't remember that waypoint. It's over the sea somewhere, isn't it? The engine out stuff. So again, we don't do anything. We don't turn until we get to single engine acceleration, which is about 1,000 feet here in Amsterdam. Come on, someone must know. What's the engine out departure for Amsterdam? I can't remember the name of it. So yeah, performance isn't great. I'm slow on speed. I kind of want to accelerate.
Terrain ahead. Pull up. Terrain ahead.
Terrain
pull
ahead.
Up.
Terrain ahead.
Probably panicking about that wind farm.
Terrain ahead.
Terrain ahead. Pull up.
Yeah, still low as speed. I mean, I've got to climb. .36 left. I think it begins with a V. Yeah, single engine performance is maybe not as good as I'd expect. You know, we're not particularly heavy, 70 tons. You know, SRS is, you know, SRS should be below me, and I should be climbing. I mean, climbing 200 feet a minute, which isn't particularly good. If I was doing this at 60 or 75 tons, I don't think I'd be doing this at all. So anyway, we can't do much. There's 1,000 feet, so above the single engine acceleration altitude, so we can start the ECAM. So you notice engine 1 fail, which was all confirmed by the indications overhead. All looking pretty good. I'm just going to manually fly this because the autopilot is shite. Engine mode selector is ignition. That is ignition. Engine thrust lever 1 at idle. That is number 1. That is confirmed. That is idle. Engine 1 master off. Engine 1 master. That is confirmed. That is off. And if damaged, I don't know. Did we have damage? I don't think we did. We've got N1, N2, so it's spinning, all pressure, quantity. It's all consistent. Yeah, it's definitely just like an engine failure without damage. At least we're in trim anyway. 1500 feet. Yeah, it is from 50. No, it's 1500 feet, isn't it? Oh well. Yeah, I forgot it. For some reason, I thought it was 1,000. So probably a little bit eager to do that. Not going to do that. Not going to do that. That's fine. Secondaries are there. Just stop the ecam for a second. Get you started. So it's a little bit better. So, right, there we go. So it's 1,500 feet. So the engine is secure. Above single engine acceleration altitude, and we can turn left. Go on, someone must know it. It's direct to something. Useless. A lot of you, useless PMs. It's over here somewhere. I can't remember what it is. It starts with V or S, and I can't remember which one it is. Really? Is it? Yeah. Well, something's over here. I can't remember. There's a waypoint over here on the missed approach. What's the missed approach then? Someone give me the missed approach. Useless. Six. Seagull, that's it, that's what I'm after. Right, there we go. Right, so yeah, performance is a little bit bad. Maybe on not the PC, but just the single engine performance, not brilliant. So yeah, Seagull, that's what I'm after. So how are you now? Maybe 1. So it's a little bit better now. We're well above V2. But yeah, it seems like you need to be above V2 for the autopilot to really behave itself. So it sorts it. Don't worry, Christian. Alright, that's done. That's done. So yeah, interesting. So maybe not the best performance I'd expect for single engine, that sort of weights. So I'm guessing there's still a little bit of work to do on that one. Probably wouldn't want to go all the way single engine, I don't know. Right, so let's sort that out. Okay, right, anyway, let's clear that, because we've done what we need to do. Not that one, that one. No. No, let's get you back on. Climb gates. Go back to normal. this up. Right, what's the next thing? Multi-purpose window blinds having to be up for Lord Gareth. It's so you can see outside if you need to evacuate, basically. So if it's there, so you can see obstacles and things that get in the way. Let's turn you off. Turn you off. Done. Right, so that's that failure. So what? Another failure. Somebody was talking about the rats. What else was there? Somebody was talking about. I don't need to go that high, do we? 12,000 would probably be alright. Yeah. You also at night time and stuff. You know, your eyesight sort of gets more. What's the word? You know, adjusted to the actual daylight conditions or the night conditions. Light conditions. So that's why they're done. So somebody was talking about the rats. Dome light has to be off for takeoff. No, I mean not really, Josh. I don't actually think we've got any specific SOP whether it needs to be off or on. I think generally it's sort of advised to be on dim, and that's just in case if you have a complete emergency electrical failure. This dome lights, the right hand dome lights here, is powered off the battery bus. Right, it's one of the direct battery buses, so it'll always remain powered. So if you had to do an abandoned takeoff or an evacuation, you know, say you stop on the runway, you're going to be able to see all of the lights. I don't know if I can simulate. Can I simulate it? I might be able to simulate it. Possibly. Might be able to simulate it. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there we go. So if you had a complete emergency electrical failure on takeoff and you abandoned the takeoff, these screens should be powered straight off the bus as well. Obviously, you can't see a fucking thing. Like, you know, there's literally nothing. You can't. Oh, what was that? Yeah, there's one. We've got a torch. We've got a torch down here, which we could grab out if we need to, but obviously we're faffing around trying to find that. So, you know, you've got no idea where anything is on the overhead. You know, don't know where the fire push buttons are, or, you know, emergency evacuation switch. Like, where the, you know, where's that gone? So the idea is to have that on dim. Oops. So that if you have to do an abandoned takeoff at night, you can still see where everything is. That's the idea. Now, of course, not everybody has it on dim. Some people have it off. I try to be... what's the word? I try to keep it on dim for that reason. So I do sort of... Yeah, that's generally why I keep it on dim. It sort of depends on the day, really. But yeah, anyway, that's why it's sort of you shouldn't really have it off. Complete hydraulic failure. Well, that's no bloody good, is it? You can't fly the thing. So yeah, hopefully that answers that, Josh. That's why you kind of want it on, just in case you have a complete electrical failure. What about both engines? No, both engines is a bit of a pain in the arse. I mean, effectively, if both engines die, you know, you've got to find somewhere to land. It's a bit hard work, that one, because you kind of need 2 people to really cope with it, which I won't really sort of. I mean, I can do a double hydraulic potentially. That's something we can do. Look at. Flap slat failure. Yeah, flap slats. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. I tried to do this actually. I did try to do this with Gav the other week. I tried to show him something, because you can. What you really want to be able to do is a failure when they start extending. Flight controls. I'm trying to think if there's anything in here which we could use that would actually be quite beneficial. Windmilling, yeah, I mean, windmilling is quite straightforward. Again, you've got the QRH for that. I mean, you have to be sort of above a certain speed. If you're not above a certain speed, then you just use the there's an APU restart envelope. You can possibly use the APU, and then if you don't, yeah, if you don't windmill it, it's basically an APU restart, which is always a bugger if your APU's not. That one. There's certain failures in here which are quite interesting. Like, you've got hydraulic systems, slats, flaps. You've got a selection of flaps potentially. Let's see if we can reduce the fuel to something a bit more manageable. Oops. It's better. That's better. That's that tidied up. Can brake fans be left on for traditional turnarounds? Yeah, they can. I mean, yeah, they are. They're very noisy. Most people don't like them on, and they also, you know, they sort of, if you turn them on too early, they can basically squirt a load of sort of carcinogenic carbon fibre dust everywhere, which isn't obviously particularly healthy for anybody around them. So yeah, that's not really ideal. Okay, let's have a look, see if we can look at a flap fault. Yeah, let's look at a flap fault. I need to get a QNH. What is a QNH? 1013. So set speeds. An alignment fault, not too sure what that is. Is that maybe wingtip brakes? What I need is below a certain speed. I need it to trigger to below something. I guess this is wingtip brakes, I think. Below 2,000 feet. Let's go. 1,100. Actually, let's go 3,100. Right, I don't know if this is going to work. I'm assuming this is going to be some sort of flap fault. Right, that's all done. That's done. Right, flap salts. Oh, got this German over. What's that? What happens then? I don't know what happens then. I mean, this is a pretty straightforward failure, guys. I mean, this is, you know, we give this to sort of first officers quite regularly for their like first officer development flights. Not really something done on a command sim. It's probably a bit too simple for something like that. But yeah, it's an interesting one just to think about, really. Oh, I'm a little bit high, so we can get down a bit. I can't really get the QRH out, unfortunately. I can't sort of show that, but I mean, there was a QRH procedure for this, which I can kind of refer to when I come back to it. What we're doing, we're going to assume everything's been briefed as well. We've briefed the approach. It's 18 left. It's nice long runway. Absolutely nothing wrong. Go around 2,000 feet off to, where is it? It's over here somewhere, is it? Is that the ILS? Yeah. So the ILS has been briefed. Yeah, we do, Gareth. Yeah. Of course we do. We're all friends. So it's not looking too bad, actually. 20 odd miles, 7,000 feet. Yeah, a couple of miles off profile, but going down quite nicely. Again, Amsterdam's pretty good with speed control. What's the absolute shortest runway a 320 can land on? Well, guys, that's a question. Well, it depends on how heavy you are, I suppose. You know, about 1,600 meters, I think, is about the shortest you're going to do. 15. No, I'm sure we got some sort of, yeah, sure, some runways we've got about 1,500 meters landing distance. You can probably land on something a bit shorter than that, but I mean, I don't think we regularly go to any places like that. Right, so let's get flap one out. So on the approach, glide slope, lock blue, cat 3, dual AP1 and 2. So I think I've triggered the failure to be below 3,100 feet, so I'll get flap 2 out just after that, see what happens. I think it's going to be a wingtip brake fault, I think that's what it's trying to simulate, which will probably lock the flaps. Interesting to do, would be a hard overrun. I mean, yeah, I don't, has Airbus even had any history of that? I don't think they have, as far as I'm aware. Yeah, I mean, you know, the sort of stuck flaps, you know, it does happen. I wouldn't say regularly, but, you know, these things do happen. You know, just something you deal with. Yeah, that's done, that's done. Let's get that on. Flap 2, and perfect, there we go. Flaps locked, wingtip brake on. So obviously the first thing we do that, any sort of flap problem, we pull speed immediately. That's the first thing we got to do. Next thing, obviously, we're just going to look at what we got. So, you know, aviate, navigate, communicate, golden rules. There's the runway down there. So a little bit high anyway. So all the thrust is working. We got out, nav, Cat 3 dual AP1 and 2. So that all looks like it's looking pretty good. Oh, we should have gone down anyway. We're not going to do that because obviously you've got an issue. So the first thing then we would do is we'll just leave it as it is. That's not too bad. The aircraft's kind of going in the right direction, so we're not too worried about that. MSA is all looking good and with visual as well. So next thing is communicate. So next thing we're just going to have to speak to ATC going, look, we've got a problem with the flaps, we're going to have to discontinue the approach and then just negotiate what we're going to do. Most likely in this case I'll be saying, look, can we maintain 3,000 feet and then probably make a right hand turn somewhere. If we carry on this approach, if we go over the top of the runway there, we're going to dump everything off the flight plan, which isn't really what we want to do. It's just going to increase workload and everything else. We're not going to worry about the actual WECAM just yet. You know, that's not really a priority, and so negotiate just 3,000 feet and basically stay where we are and hopefully not really do any of this. So with any luck, ATC would probably say, okay, yeah, right hand turn to the west immediately approved, which will preserve the flight plan. So again, just fly the aircraft. Let's go off heading. We know it's safe because it's over the sea. We've got heading there as well. We'll just leave that as it is. And basically everything else is tickety-boo. Another thing we'll probably look at is just the fuel. Again, 4.5 tons of fuel is probably not quite what we're going to have, be a bit less than that, but it will be good enough. Have you ever had to just be requested to load full fuel on the... Oh yeah, loads time to go. So next thing, right, so we've done that, so we've aviated. This is all working, the aircraft's working, generally finding the automation. We've navigated off over to the sea, which is safe, and we've communicated. So let me just look at this on the ECAM. Obviously I've got an ECAM caution, and it says flight control flaps are locked. Wingtip brakes are on, so we know we can't reset these in the air, so that's pretty much it now. It's an alignment fault, so effectively we are now almost without flaps. We can kind of see though, there is almost... Ew. Looking at the diagram, there's almost a tiny little bit of flap deployed. It's a bit hard to see, but I mean there is something there. I mean you could possibly confirm it by looking at the wings, but you know, you're not going to see too much of them, and you're certainly not going to have much time to go back there to look at it either. So it's an alignment fault. The max speed is 200 knots. So it's already worked out what our maximum speed is. Now we've selected our speed as soon as we have the fault. It's 181 knots, which is fine. So that's what we're going to do. I'll tell you what, I'm also going to do a PPOS hold, because I don't really want to go too far from where we're going. Enter that, and then we're just going to hold there because we know we're nice and safe and we're close to the airport. So that's been done. So there's nothing really else we need to do about this. We're doing the maximum speed. There's nothing on the ECAMs, and there's not really much. There's no indications. There's nothing else to confirm that's not really working other than what it says. Nothing on the really flight controls. That doesn't really tell us much. So we just know that the flaps are locked. So let's clear that. Then we get down to the status, so we look at maybe it's only expanded checklists. Yeah, go into nav, thank you. So there we go, nav. Resets, we can't reset, that's a wingtip brakes, we can't reset it at all. Expanded checklists, there is a QRH drill to look at. We're going to have to do an overweight, not an overweight, so we're going to have to do a landing distance procedure as well. And also it's QH drill. There's also a fuel penalty with this, because we know that the flaps are now stuck out, the flaps specifically. I'm not going to reset the configuration, just going to leave it as it is, but there is possibly a fuel penalty. But fortunately we got loads of fuel. The weather's nice in Amsterdam and there's loads of runways, so probably not going to go anywhere else. So we can look at the status. It says for landing use flap 3. So we can go straight overhead, use flap 3 on that, so that's already done. I think that would normally disappear once I pressed it. GPWS flap mode off. Now the reason we're turning this off is GPWS flap mode is because as soon as we get below about 750 feet, if we haven't got the flaps in the landing configuration, it's just going to start shouting us that we got flaps problems, which don't really want to do that because we want to sort of silence the spurious warnings. Now we got an approach correction. It says VREF plus 25 and a landing distance procedure apply, which we should do. So we can go straight in here, we can look at it. EHAM runway 18 right. It's dry. Let's apply the METAR. That's fine. It's more or less that. It's actually 15 degrees, I think, because it's not real world weather. Let's make sure the aircraft's still doing its thing. It is good. Landing weights, what are we? 63.9. Let's just go 63.7. Look at the failure, slats and flaps. Now it's a little bit hard to, sometimes a bit hard to determine where it is, but it's quite obvious here that we've got a flaps of less than 1. So we've got 1, 2, 3 and 4. And it's quite obvious it's less than 3. Sorry, less than 1, sorry. So it's quite obviously that one. So it's prompting us to use max manual braking, which, okay, fine. We wouldn't have to do that normally, but we've got low auto brake. But even if we land to use max manual auto braking, that's fine. It's got flap 3 already, auto thrust is on. So we can see landing distance is absolutely fine. So that's that done. Now we've got to do an approach correction as well. Now this is quite handy, it's already told us what it is. So if we go down to the FMGC, it's basically what we need to do is we need to add 25 knots onto the VLS of flap full, because what it's doing is the VREF is basically what VLS is for flap full. So we're 25 knots on top of VLS for flap full, which is what VREF is. So 25 knots on top of that is 158. So that's our VAP now, and then we're going to config 3, so then we've got to press config 3. Now sometimes if the VREF correction, delta VREF correction is less than I think 20 knots, you'd also then add 5 knots for an auto thrust correction, but because VREF is already more than 20 knots, then basically you can just leave that as the 25 knot delta VREF correction, and that is now our approach speed. So we've done all that. There's a QRH procedure as well, which I should just glance through quickly because it doesn't really take much time. Flight controls. So landing with slats or flaps jams. Landing distance procedure we've just worked out. Determine the flap lever position for landing. We've done that. It's going to be flap 3 landing. And then it says repeat the following until the landing configuration is reached. So we speed select minus VFE minus 5. So we're already almost at, in fact, 180 knots would be VFE minus 5. Once we get to that, we then basically go to the next stage of flaps. We've only got one more stage of flaps to go to, which is flap 3, so we can sort of do that on the approach. So we'll do that when we are. It's got a few knots. Overspeed alert, VLS displayed on PFD are computed according to the actual flap lever position. So all of these are based on our actual flap lever position down here. Oh, sorry, the actual flap slats position, not the flap lever. VFE and VFE next are according to the flap lever positions, so these will change when I change the handle. It says in some cases the recommended speed for go around requested by the procedure might be slightly above VFE displayed on PFD, as the VFE is linked to the flap lever position. The overspeed warning will not be triggered as it is taken into account the actual slats flaps lever, actual slats flap position. It said if VLS is greater than VFE next, overweight landing, we're not above overweight, so that's not going to be applied to us. The flap lever can be set in the required next position while the speed is reduced to follow VLS reduction as surfaces extend. The VFE warning threshold should not be triggered. Again, it shouldn't apply to us because we're not overweight, and it does say about you can disconnect the auto thrust. For the actual approach, it says do not use the autopilot below 500 feet. Now it's nice weather, it's cavalcade, so we can do that. And then for the go around, there's a couple of tables. So we've established that the flaps are between 0 and F plus 1, and slats will be between 1 and 3 because that's where they're going to be. They're going to be staying in that position. They're going to stay at 2 when the flap lever goes to position 3. So these aren't going to extend anymore. So we know that the maximum speed for the missed approach is 200 knots, which is basically what it was saying on the ECAM. So if there's a flap faults for the circuit, maintain the slat flap configuration. Recommended speed is the maximum speed minus 10 knots, so that would be 190 knots in this case. And there's no green hydraulic problems. For diversion, if the flaps are jammed above 0, maintain the flap slats position. Again, maximum speed is the maximum speed minus 10 knots, which would be 190 knots, and there's an increased fuel consumption. So we look at our fuel flow on the ECAM, so we're burning about, at this sort of height, 2 tons per hour. So when it comes to endurance, we know we're burning about 2 tons per hour roughly. So we've just got about 4 tons. We know we've got about 2 tons worth of endurance. So in terms of sort of the diagnosis, what we're going to do, we can do something called a little DODAR. I usually sort of apply time above that as well. So time, we know we've got about 2 hours endurance. We've got a lovely nice big airfield over here with lots of runways with nice weather, so I think that's a relatively good place to go to. We know what the diagnosis is. We've got a flap fault, or it's locked in wingtip brakes. We can't do anything about that. The options are Amsterdam or somewhere else. I don't think there's any reason to go anywhere else to Amsterdam. That's a decision. We're not going to assign any tasks because there's nobody else here to do it, and then we can just review what we're doing. So that's a relatively quick sort of failure management process, and then once we've done all that, we obviously speak to everybody, make sure everybody's happy. We can clean this up now, status we don't need. Speak to ATC, speak to the cabin, speak to the passengers, and then we're just going to sort of effectively determine who's going to fly the approach, which would probably be the captain in this case. Probably unlikely to need emergency services on the ground. I'd probably ask for them anyway, just to make sure the brakes are okay. You know, that's the only threat really, is hot brakes. And the other big important thing of this, because we don't have any flaps, I don't think Fenix are going to model this, but because we got no flaps on the end of the wings, giving us drag, it's not so in this instant the pitch would likely be quite high on approach, so you would be pretty close to your tail strike limits, which would be somewhere near around 10 degrees on a 320. So that's another threat. On the actual approach, you might be quite a high nose, high attitude, so you just have to be careful of the flare in that case. Anyway, let's clear that. Let's start the approach. Again, I don't think Fenix are going to model the pitch attitude, because I know they certainly don't model it for flap 3. So flap 3 pitch attitude would normally be about 3 degrees. Let's go down. Oh. So thrust open descent and 2,000 feet is blue. Go outbound for a couple of miles, then we can start the approach. Record the landing. Yeah, that's a good idea. Recording the landing is fine, it's then just understanding how to use the recorder afterwards. Where is... There it is. So again, we'd do a sort of constant review after this. So again, time we're fine with, because we've got plenty of fuel. Let's just start that. Let's go back in there. Speed out start and nav. Where else? What else do I need to say? Yeah, so we know what the options are. There's no more failures. We've decided that Amsterdam is still the best option, but you're constantly reviewing this process. Just making sure you're not really missing anything. So apologies if I went through that relatively quick, but I mean, it wouldn't be that quick in real life. We'd probably give it a bit more thought, but certainly worth just going through a few things. So it's a relatively simple fault, this. There's not too much to consider, but it usually is quite a good one for first officers in terms of development, because they then just have to think about things. You know, certainly on a day like today in Amsterdam, you know, the options are pretty obvious. You wouldn't continue a flight, you wouldn't go anywhere else. If you're just taken off and you had something like this, you wouldn't continue the flight. You may divert. You know, Amsterdam may not be the best airport to return back to. Nice lot blue cat 3 dual AP1 and 2, but it does give you a bit of sort of something to think about, I suppose. Which is why they're usually quite good for first officer developments. Is there a most common failure you've experienced? In flight? No, not really. I don't think so. APU's not working. That's usually pretty bloody common. Let's just go on heading just so he intercepts. Localizer. Alright, let's get the gear down. Let's go flat 3. Big glide slope from above. Oh, there we go. Glide slope star, lock start. Yeah, let's go 3000 as well. A little bit of late capture in that. That's fine. So do the landing checks, and we've seen our VAP is 158. So that's why we got VAP down there. So again, no flaps, so yeah, the pitch attitude would normally be very, very high in this case, which it isn't, unfortunately. It would be much sort of close to 10 degrees. So they haven't quite got the model on that one. This failure could slap flap. Potentially, you might do. I mean, there is a procedure for a flapless, slats and flapless landing
1000
as well. That's 1000. So yeah, the pitch altitude would normally be a lot higher. I'd be sort of expecting to see about 7.5 degrees, because the flaps, effectively, if you imagine the wind blowing against the flaps, then that pitch movement is pushing the nose down because it's pushing against the sort of centre of gravity in the middle. Without those flaps there's nothing to push against, so the pitch would just stay very high, so it would be a high angle of attack, which unfortunately isn't modelled. So again, there's 500 feet, so we don't usually want to pilot below that.
Terrain. Too low.
Don't
terrain.
really know why that's going off, but we can just disregard it.
Too low. Terrain. 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 Too low.
100.
Terrain. Too low. Terrain.
40, 30, 20, retard. 10, 5.
A little bit floaty, but a little bit fast. Spoilers, full reverse, manual braking, and that's max manual braking. As you can see, we're stopping very, very easily. So again, I'd probably just come off the auto brakes. It's a nice long runway. And then that would be that, and then we'd probably taxi off, get the fire crews to just double check the brakes, because these could be quite hot. Again, you probably get the brake fans on pretty straight away. So that's that failure. So that's pretty straightforward. Again, it's just it's a shame that the pitch isn't modelled. The pitch should be a lot higher. Should be closer to probably 7.5 degrees on that, but that's okay. That's not too bad. You can probably look at maybe another failure if anybody else has probably got enough time. I am just going to check the dog, make sure he's all right. Let's just get rid of that. That's that done. Right, yeah, I'm just going to go off air for a moment to make sure the dog's still alive. So, 1 second. Good. Right, yeah, I'm back. Sorry, right, so the dog's still alive, which is a good thing, so the wife's not going to kill me for that. So there we go. I was going to say the flaps are out, but I cleared the failure, didn't I? So yeah, that's that one. So if there's any other failures anybody wants to look at, let me know. I can spin this thing around pretty quickly. Get airborne again. That was flaps. One. 50. 59.2. You back to normal. That's done. That's done. That's done. Yes. Right. Yeah, I could do a random one. Have a look. Breathalyzer failures. Yeah, that's fortunately that's never failed. I couldn't afford that one to fail. To be honest, I don't actually drink really, not a lot. You know, I barely drink at all. So yeah, it would be quite odd if I ever failed a breathalyzer, considering I don't really ever drink too much. I mean, I do have the odd drink, gin and tonic and a pint and again, but I mean, never really when I'm working. You know, it's sort of reserved for my days off, I suppose. That's, you know, when I'm working and in work mode, that's work mode. So, have you had a hydraulic failure? Have you had a hydraulic failure? No, I haven't, Chris. I mean, I have had a hydraulic failure in real life. That was quite interesting. Alright, let me just see if I can clear. And that's failures. Done. Right, I think we're ready to go. That's done. Quick check you. Yeah, spoilers. Good. Right, okay. Yeah, let's do a random failure, see what it says. I'm sure it won't be that difficult, but... So it's Flex 55 SRS. What I'll do is I'll get the autopilot in first, and I can just trigger it. Should have had a route in really, be a bit more realistic with it. 100 knots. V1 rotates. Fast to climb, gear up. AP1. Yeah, oh, wrong one. Trigger. Just on climb. Soon we're heading off to the UK somewhere. Well, I thought I triggered something, but nothing's happened. Let's keep going up. There's flap 0, speed check flap 0. Cool, that's all done. I'm not planning on going all the way to Gatwick, by the way. I'm just putting something in just so it's a bit more realistic. Better. Yeah. It's interesting. I don't know if that's a failure. That's a bit odd. Could just trigger random failures or something interesting. I've had 2 questions above you missed. Sorry, what were they? A few questions. It's a fuel valve issue on the CP 330. What? Have you ever had to divert drunken passengers? No, not really. Typical gav failure there, yeah. Sorry. Question 2, that landing. The terrain warning, I'm not too sure. I think that's just a sim thing. I don't know why that would have gone off, but I mean, you know, that we wouldn't expect that to go off in the real aircraft. If it did, possibly could have just pressed the terrain thing. It's sort of spurious, so effectively you could just, you know, argued you could ignore that. The floaty landing, yeah, it was a little bit floaty, to be fair, a little bit faster. So I mean, that is one of the threats as well, actually, which I didn't really brief. You can be a little bit floaty in it, but I mean, we touched down at the end of the touchdown zone, so it's still fine. And you know, the landing distance is very, very long. You know, 18 right is a very, very long runway in Amsterdam, so not really any need to go around. If we had gone past the touchdown zone, yeah, maybe might have been a reason to have done it. But you know, no, that was. I mean, I was happy with that. It was a little bit long, but you know, I was relatively happy with it. You know, again, it was in the touchdown zone, which is the main thing. Yeah, I don't know what the hell's failed on that. I mean, I don't know. Nothing. There's no fault lights. Yeah. Did I just not do that right? I don't even know. There's nothing on the status. No, I don't know. I keep pressing the wrong one. Maybe I came off the page too quickly, I don't know. What was the other question you had? I think that's it, Diana, isn't it? I think I've got everything. Could be like a gear extension failure. Possibly. Yeah, it could be, I suppose. Yeah, that'd be interesting. I mean, I don't have time really to do that. I've only got like another 10 or 15 minutes, so I don't know. Let's just go back to Amsterdam because I don't have time to go all the way to Gatwick, sadly. I was hoping it was going to be something obvious where it'd be like an immediate return, but could test the auto land, I suppose. That's something else which we haven't done yet. Right. Make sure that's okay. Something I did say we were going to test. No. There you go, you can try to sort of put a very low fog layer in and then see how this works for an auto land. So we can get a bit later in the day as well. What is the procedure for life-threatening medical emergency on board? The cabin crew deal with it a lot more than we do, to be fair. So it's not really something that we're going to get too involved with. Basically, long story short, they're going to give us a brief and they're going to give us recommendations on what they want to do. You know, that they're the ones that are a bit more medically trained than we are. So they're going to give us the recommendation of, you know, we think you need to divert, and if we're doing that, it'll be fine. We'll just find somewhere generally to divert to. If there's like an immediate threat to life, then obviously it'll be the nearest suitable airfield. If it's, you know, if it's subjective, then, you know, we might have time to go somewhere a bit more suitable. You know, but, you know, it's difficult. It depends on the situation, depends on the medical problem. Do you have to bid for routes at the start of the month, or are you just assigned? You sort of are assigned them at random. There is a bidding system that we have, so we can sort of bid for specific things, which is quite useful. Which reminds me, actually, I've got to do mine today. So yeah, there is a system that we have, which is actually quite a good system. It does work quite well for me, which is nice. So yeah, there's a little bit of control. It doesn't always work. It's, you know, most of the time I'd say I get what I want to do. Which is quite nice. Some people don't. You know, some people don't get what they want at all. So, right. Anyway, that's all done. So yeah, let's set up for an auto land. So again, aircraft's fully serviceable. In fact, what we could do. No, I won't do that because if I'm not visual, it won't work. I was going to say I could fail an autopilot to see it's whether it's. Yeah, it is still in op. Unfortunately, it doesn't show anything. I was going to say I could fail an autopilot and then we could just have Cat 3 single and then we got a 50-foot auto land limit. But yeah, I'm not going to do that. Where's the MS? There it is. So yeah, I could have done Cat 3 with a decision height, but if I've set the clouds wrong, then I'm not visual. I'd have to go around. So I'm just going to do a Cat 3 with a decision height, so effectively Cat 3B, Cat 3B minimums. So there's no requirement. There's no visual references for this. I'm not going to brief the whole thing in terms of failures. That'd just be a bit of a waste of time for this. It's just really to see how well the aircraft performs. 081, 002 really, I suppose technically. Which have gone rounds. What's the 2 question? Yeah, sorry, thanks. Yeah, I thought it was. Oh, it's interesting. Yeah, I suppose. Is there a latent failure that's programmed in here with like the gear? I might have to clear that if we do get a failure now of the landing gear or anything else. Then yeah, I might have to just get rid of it. Because obviously we're practicing the auto land now to see how well that works. I don't know if Fenix have changed this too much. I think they have. And that'll be the end. I'll finish the stream after that. So I think it's been quite a long stream actually, isn't it? I don't know how long I've been going. Probably quite a bit. So yeah, hopefully it's been relatively educational. Again, I'm reasonably happy with the version 2 Fenix. A little bit of tweaking, I think, with things like the sensitivities, but they seem to be fine. You know, I think, yeah, about -25 I think I had on the pitch sensitivities. If anybody needs to see my sensitivities at the end of this, just let me know before I finish and I can show them. I think -25 in the pitch axis seems to work reasonably well. -30 in the roll seems to be okay. Again, that might need tweaking a little bit. I haven't done a lot of landings yet in sort of max crosswinds, really gusty conditions in this, so it's a little bit difficult to give it a proper assessment. You know, so it's going to be a little bit of work in progress, I think, and just tweaking things as and when. But yeah, it's still a little bit laggy, everything. I think that may be driver updates. 3 hours. So is it 3 hours? That's not too bad. Yeah, I think it might be about 4. So we've done one flight from Amsterdam to Birmingham, and then we sort of come back here, played with a couple of failures, showing you something of the flaps jammed. Again, it's not particularly that difficult. Let's just start configuring this flap 1. Speed check. Yeah, so everything seems a little bit laggy, like the PFD is a little bit laggy. Not so bad when you expand the window, but nope. Oh, not wrong one. Not that one, that one. Freudian slip. Right, clear for the approach. So there we go, glide slope lock blue, Cat 3 dual AP1 and 2. Did high crosswind landings seem to... Yeah, I did try and do it last week, but the problem is when you're trying to create high winds in the weather app, it never seems to be very realistic. It always gives you like stupidly high winds at like 60-70 knots at 2,000 feet, which, you know, I'm not entirely convinced is, you know, I don't think it would model that in real life. I think when it models high winds in real life from somewhere, it seems to be a bit better. So I just need to do a bit more practice, just find somewhere with strong winds and then go there and try and practice them. But you know, it's alright, there's plenty of time to do those sort of stuff. Right, there's Lockstar. So we get the That's glide slope starting 2000 is set for the missed approach. Let's just manage you. So I'm just playing around with the time a little bit. Turn that down. Get out. Flat 3. Yeah, flat 4. Oh, lay off. Oh. Speed 135. Yeah, that's about right. So again, not much to do. Any sort of failures above 1,000 feet, we either sort of clear the failures up and put the new minimums in, and then we can continue. Otherwise, it's just to go around any failures below 1,000 feet. It's effectively a go around. Obviously, any master warnings, cautions, any auto land lights. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if this works. Don't need to see anything, of course. It's Cat 3 without decision heights. There's no visual references. As long as you can see someone on the ground ready to taxi off, you're fine. Pilot flying, so the FO would be calling out the FMAs. Below 1,000 feet, 1,000, that's checked. Yeah. Crips, Azets. So we get the FMGC lock and the inhibit lock with the landing inhibits. There we go, that's come up there. FMGC lock has happened. At 400 feet we get lands, or 350 feet on the FMA.
$500.
500 stable. Land. There's some lights, that's good.
$100.
Just been, yeah, it would have been 100 above.
40,
Flare.
30, 20, 10.
Master.
Retard.
Roll out. Spoilers. First green. Decel. And you're braking. Disconnect the autopilot. Bit of a lip. There we go. Well, the auto land seems to work quite nicely. That's at least one thing. There we go. Seems a bit smooth for an auto land. No, I mean the auto lands are generally very good. They are usually that smooth. They're better than I am. So yeah, that seems okay. Don't really have too many complaints with that. My briefing was a bit useless, but that's okay. So lower it a bit. Yeah, I don't think I can make it any thicker than that. I think that's about as much as I can do. Can't adjust the visibility much more than that. Make it a bit darker. But yeah. There we go. Anyway, guys, so thanks very much. Thanks for listening. Thanks for putting up for me, usual sort of stuff. Hope that was relatively useful. Didn't go through too much. Few sort of bit of failure stuff. Nauto land test, that was okay. Landing seemed okay. Again, probably a little bit critical last week when I was talking about Fenix. I wasn't really bowled over by it. I think I wasn't bowled over because it's already such a good product, and they haven't actually done. But they have done a lot of things, but you don't really see a lot of the things that they've done. So yeah, still very good. Still a few things that I need to sort out. Whether it's a bit stuttering on these screens. Maybe I need to update my NVIDIA drivers. And then what else was I going to do? Yeah, I think that's it. I need to have a bit more of a play, but apart from that, seems okay. I just need a couple of things to sort out. I think the sensitivities. Yeah, if anybody needs to see my sensitivities, I'll show these quickly. So yeah, I've got minus 25 on the pitch, minus 30 on the roll. Maybe they could be a bit lighter because you don't want it too dead in roll in landing, certainly not in crosswinds. So I don't know. I think that's pretty good. That does seem pretty good for me. The Z-axis, that's the twist. That's the nose steering, so ignore that. But that's pitch, that's roll, and they seem to be pretty good. Bit of a dead zone as well. I mean, I rest my hands on the side stick. It's just the Thrustmaster one. It doesn't move the side stick that much. I can rest my hand on it quite comfortably and nothing will move. So yeah, that's all fine. I think these settings are pretty good for me. It does feel reasonably realistic. There's not too much, you know, it isn't that far away from the real aircraft that I can feel. Of course, the big difference is you don't really have any tactile feeling. Like I can't feel what the aircraft's doing in the sim because obviously I'm not airborne, where you do get a bit more sort of tactile feeling of what the aircraft's doing. So what's in the rudder pedals? Rudder pedals, good question, Chris. Let me just have a look. So rudder is, what have we got? So the actual rudder, there you go, the Z-axis. -25 again, there we go. That again, that seems to work pretty well for me. A bit more of a dead zone, only because, you know, my feet, when they're rested on them, you know, sometimes just the weight of my feet move them a little bit, but I don't actually want the rudder to be moving. So I kind of want it to be a bit of an obvious deflection before it starts doing something. So yeah, -25, and then just a straight line. That's just the brake pedals. So there's nothing special about that, just a linear, no sensitivities, so no dead zone or anything. Just because I want full brake, or, you know, there's full brakes or no brakes, and then I can sort of modulate it a little bit. You know, it's quite hard work actually to get them both modulated at the same sort of, you know, that's my left one, that's my left foot, and that's my right one. Ironically, the left is on the right and the right is on the left, but there we go. So that's the rudders. Yeah, they do, Leon. Yeah, I mean, you know, they're not cheap, these ones, but they're worth it. That's it. So there we go. Hopefully that's fine. Back to work, a couple of days, so I probably won't be able to stream much next week, I don't think. Maybe one day. Yeah, it might be a couple of weeks until I can get a stream in again. Depends how often I'm, you know, if I get back home and do things, I might be able to do something. But if not, as usual, just sort of fire questions in the chat and stuff, and I can probably answer as best I can. In the meantime, just have a good weekend. I think it's the weekend, isn't it? Yeah, have a good weekend. Enjoy the weather. The weather seems to have brightened up, right? Which is nice. Enjoy the sim, whatever you fly, and we'll see you soon. Cheerio.